Okay. Good evening. This is the Lakeville Select Board acting as the wage and principal as needed. We have the Lakeville Council on Aging and One Deering Crossing, Lakeville, Mass. It's June 13th, 2022. It's 5:30 p.m. Please ask if anybody is recording the meeting and announce that cable is taping the meeting. First item on the agenda is to go into executive session to discuss strategy respect to potential litigation if the open meeting law has been detrimental effect on litigating the position of the public body and the chairman so declares. So I'll entertain a motion going into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to potential litigation if an open meeting has been detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body and the chairman so declares, and return to open session.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Carboni, aye.
Fabian, aye.
The camera, aye. We also have the Finance Committee here, and the Finance Committee needs to call their meeting to order.
Call the Finance Committee meeting to order at 5:31 p.m. And our first item is also to go into executive session. So we will also entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to potential litigation. An open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position, and so the chairman so declares. Second? Okay. Larry?
Mr.
Chris?
Chair,
Oh, sorry.
and return to open session.
And return to open session. Day aye.
Okay. Okay, we're all set? Okay, so Finance Committee is here, it's 5:45, and we have some year-end transfers that need to be done. So let's see. So, Mr. Chair, do you want to make a motion to make these budget transfers?
Sure, we'll do
As
them,
presented here, please.
do them individually.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, so first one coming up. I'll entertain a motion to transfer the sum of $123,959.04. The source will be from the Finance Committee Reserve Fund. It'll be transferred to the Fire Department for back wages. These are back wages due to a reinstated firefighter. Do we have a second? All right, Larry? Chris? And Day, aye.
You just want to do the reserve fund transfer, or you want to do the other ones too? You have to vote on the other ones too.
Right, I was just gonna read them off individually,
Okay, go
if
ahead.
that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, second one. We have, this is two sources going into one target. So we have the sum of $25,000 coming from unemployment compensation, as well as $25,000 coming from veterans benefits. They're also going to fire department back wages for a total sum of $50,000. These are also a second part of back wages due to a reinstated firefighter. Okay, Larry? Chris? And Day, aye. Perfect. All right, next up, we're entering a motion to transfer an amount of $26,500 from the technology expenses maintenance account. These are going to two different accounts, $20,000 to fire expenses for gasoline and diesel, and $6,500 to fire expenses equipment maintenance. Explanation here is there's been an increased call for services, as well as we've all seen increased cost of fuel. There was also a hardware failure with the fire department related to fire alarm signals that had to be repaired so that signals could then be retransmitted. Larry?
Austin, aye.
Chris?
Plonka, aye.
And Day, aye. Next, we have a transfer of $8,000 that is coming from the technology expenses maintenance account that is being transferred to the assessor's expenses for technology and GIS services. This was due to the Vision Government Solutions. It's the cloud service and web hosting of the assessor's database, which has been rolled into the fiscal year 23 budget.
So moved. Second.
Larry?
Austin, aye.
Chris?
Plonka, aye.
And Day, aye. All right, there's a few on this one. We have $12,500 coming from veterans benefits. We have $8,000 coming from the town offices, fire station expenses, $15,000 from facilities and salaries part-time, $7,500 coming from inspection salaries for the assistant inspector, and another $600 from inspection salaries assistant inspector, for a total of $43,600. Those are going to $12,500 of that to part-time inspector wages, gas and electric, $8,000 to the historic library utilities, $15,000 to facilities expenses, $7,500 to health and part-time assistant, and $600 to the public health nurse, also for a total of $43,600. Various explanations here: increased construction activity over the last year that was not expected. Inspectional services and permit revenues have actually exceeded estimates by $198,000, which is good news due to increased activity. Utility costs at the Old Town Library were from the previous tenant that was there, but the town has now reacquired that building for its own uses. There's been a bunch of different repairs that were unforeseen that depleted the existing facilities budget, so that transfer is being done to ensure that those are done in a timely manner. And the part-time assistant health agent for all the food inspections, and the health agent who's had sufficient time to address the COVID-related issues in a volatile construction environment. And COVID in general has placed a significant burden on this department, and this transfer will help them finish out the rest of FY22.
Discussion?
Sure.
For the transfer for the facilities, is that going to include, I think you still have issues to do with the handicap ramp?
No, that's completely different. That's a capital project, yeah.
Right, so moved.
Okay. Larry?
Austin, aye.
Chris?
Plonka, aye.
Day, aye. And that, I've got a duplicate, so I believe that was all of them. That's the one I printed at home.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you can sign those forms, so you don't have to come to town hall, would be helpful. So,
I don't know.
and then, second of all, you know, the finance committee can adjourn. They certainly can continue to attend this meeting if you want. I'm sure it's got someone else.
Nope, I don't believe we had anything else planned, but is there any new business from the members attending tonight? No? Any old business? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the finance committee meeting at 5:52 p.m.
So moved.
All right, Larry?
Austin, aye.
Chris?
Plonka, aye.
Day, aye. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, first on the, number 3 on the agenda is the select board announcements.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Todd.
I think 4 of these that Brian has also require a vote of the select board.
Okay,
Departmental.
oh, the departmental ones? Okay.
Okay.
So, I'll entertain a motion to, approve the transfers as presented by the chairman of the finance committee.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thanks, Todd, for reminding me. Okay, Selectmen's announcements. First of all, if you're interested in serving on a town board, committee, or commission, there are vacancies in the following areas: Cable Advisory Committee, Capital Expenditure Committee, Master Plan Implementation Committee, Economic Development Committee, Park Commission, and Zoning Board of Appeals. If you're interested in volunteering in any of these groups, please submit a letter of interest to the Select Board by mail or by email. Thank you. Also, the Community Preservation Act Committee has been formed, and the Select Board is asking for letters of interest to be sent to any of the residents interested in serving on the committee. Please email your letter of interest with any background information you would like to submit to tcraig-mcgee@lakevillema.org. We'd like to congratulate the Ponequid and Old Colony students, the seniors, for a great job. We wish them the best of luck, in the future. Just so you know, an update on Clear Pond. As you probably know, over the last couple of meetings, we've been talking about trying to get lifeguards and to open the facility. And we actually got 3 lifeguards, which is great. We needed 5. And we got 2 others that are committed. We just have to finish the certification. So Clear Pond will open, and so you can look at the town website, which has the information upon the seasonal passes and so forth, and then they will be putting out there when they're going to be opened. It's going to be Lakeville residents only, but they will be allowed to bring guests, just so everybody knows. Okay, that's all I have. Town Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few announcements. Work on the South Coast Rail project continues in Lakeville. The temporary enclosures on Malbone, Myrick's and Paddlefoot streets are scheduled through the end of the month. The OPM overseeing the town facilities water study will present the recommendations at the June 27th Select Board meeting. The Planning Board has approved an article for fall town meeting to remove the Development Opportunities District from the town's bylaws. June 27th agenda will include items to send the members of the Planning Board for the required public hearing. We are also moving forward on implementation of the FY23 budget. Full-time labor position in DPW is being advertised. Job description for the part-time front counter position in inspectional services will be presented to the board for approval on June 23rd. Financing documents for the fire department's ladder truck will be considered tonight, and healthcare changes have been rolled out to the organization. Applications for the Community Preservation Act exemptions are available online from the Board of Assessors. Homeowners meeting low or moderate income criteria may be eligible. The next meeting of the Select Board will be on June 27th at 6 p.m. in the police station. Thank you.
Number 5 is to review and possible vote to approve the financing for the ladder truck. I don't know if the chief or the town accountant wants to give an overview of what we're doing here.
Good evening. So you should have in your packet a memo that the chief and I co-authored with a couple of attachments. And I think the chief has briefed the board in the past about some of the details of this important piece for the fire department. It has been specified in a way that will the new unit will uniquely be able to service the challenges within the town, which the chief can speak to if you like. And through a cooperative bid with the New England Fire Equipment and Apparatus Corporation, we've included their summary of their proposal in your packet. We're pleased that it's coming in just under the town meeting vote of $1.4 million. It takes close to 24 months for this to be constructed, as I think the chief has told you. And what we're doing based on the vote of town meeting is we've sought out pricing for a lease purchase where we would not make our first lease payment for 2 years until we take delivery of the apparatus. And the lease has been secured at 3.54% for a 10-year period. And the town does have the option to make additional payments or prepayments or payoffs prior. We're not locked in like we would be if we did a traditional municipal bond in the first 10 years.
Chief, you want to say anything?
Well, first I'd like to thank Todd and our town accountant, and I'd like to thank our town administrator for helping me with the administration of bringing what the fire department needs to fruition. This vehicle, this piece of apparatus represents a significant upgrade in our ability to to deliver fire protection to the town. It's an upgrade to public safety. It enhances the way we are going to approach every building fire from here on out. And it's going to be, I hope it's going to be, it should be a reliable piece of equipment that we can count on to be there in our time of need. Because we really only get one shot to make a rescue or pull somebody out of a window. And this fire truck is going to allow us to do that.
Okay, so, Select Board, entertain a motion to award the contract for the purchase of the new ladder truck to New England Fire Equipment Apparatus Corporation, and to authorize the town administrator to execute any related documents on behalf of the town.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next is to vote to award the contract for the lease, purchase, financing a new ladder truck to the community leasing partners, and to authorize the town administrator to execute any related documents on behalf of the town.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Okay, next on the agenda is to discuss the impossible approval of the recommendations of the environmental partners Elliot Farm parking evaluation. Over the last couple of years, there's been a pocket problem at Elliot Farms, and the state has expressed concern about that, and there was an accident last year. So the Mass DOT has required that Elliot Farms hire an engineering firm to put together a parking evaluation approval that must be approved by Mass DOT. So we have that recommendation, and basically the recommendation is to the existing no parking signs that are really temporary along between their two entrances. Mass DOT wants to make those permanent. So in order for us to do that, we have to vote that. Then the second thing is that they want to put in temporary signs further down and across the street past all the houses that says you can park there for 30 minutes, and that's it. And that way there, the police chief, can enforce it, because currently right now, we don't have the authority to enforce it, and we do have a letter from the police chief, Matt Perkins, recommending that we approve this plan. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the plan.
So moved.
Second with some
Discuss-
discussion.
Yeah, go ahead. Who's first? Go ahead. Who wants to go first?
So, couple of things. So I feel like Elliott Farm had to pay for all this engineering and stuff. I'd really like to pass along a message to the planning board that says, we really need to keep our eye on parking going forward. I've heard that, they could have never foreseen the success that they're having. I think that's incorrect. I think we know it's a fantastic little farm stand, and it's always been busy. So I do recall having the plan in front of me when it was still in the planning stages and stressing that I didn't think the parking was sufficient. I'm no expert, but I kind of feel bad that the business had to go out and pay, an engineering firm when, maybe we could have nipped it in the bud. But anyways, so that's just a piece of advice for the planning board going forward to, we're trying to support small business, not put more expenses on them. But anyways, that's it.
All right.
No, I'm good.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
good.
Yeah.
Any questions? Anybody have any questions? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the Department of Transportation request, the report from the environmental partners regarding the Elliott Farm parking.
We had a motion already, so.
Yeah, we
Oh, I'm
already had a
sorry, my
motion.
fault.
It's all right.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. There is one thing that I would like to say. A couple of years ago, I asked Mass DOT, that's the only section on Main Street between Crooked Lane and Nelson Shore Road that you can pass. And I asked them to make a double line, so I'm gonna ask Franklin to follow up on that, because I think that's just important. There's been some, horrendous accidents on Main Street over the last 9 months, three really bad ones, people speeding and so forth. So I think that we ought to request that as well. Anyways, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Sorry. Okay. Next on the agenda is the, number 7 is to discuss a possible vote to approve election warrant for special election on June 28, 2022. Should we read this into the minutes?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. You want to make that motion there, Lynn?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we approve the following ballot question for July 28th. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town who are qualified to vote in elections to meet in Precinct 1, Precinct 2, and Precinct 3, Ted Williams Camp, Loon Pond Lodge, 28 Precinct Street, Lakeville, Mass, on Tuesday, June 28th, 2022, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., then and there to act on the following. Shall the town of Lakeville be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2 and 1/2, so-called the amounts required to pay the $12,725,000 principal amount, together with the amount necessary to pay all associated interest on the bonds issued in order to acquire by purchase, gift, and/or eminent domain for active and passive recreation, agricultural, open space, and general municipal purposes, all or a portion of the parcel of land located at 44 Clear Pond Road containing 138.10 acres, more or less, and being described in a deed recorded with the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds in Book 40414, page 215, said parcel being owned by the owners thereof and now or formerly classified under General Law, Chapter 61B, as described in Article 11 of the 2022 Annual Town Meeting Warrant. The questions would be yes or no. And you were directed to serve this warrant by posting an attested copy hereof 7 days, at least before June 28, 2022, at the following places: Town Office Building, Baldy's Pizzeria, Fat Cousins Pizza, the Clark Shores Association Bulletin Board, Ponequid Regional High School, the Senior Center, and Assawamsett School. Hereof fail not, and make return of this warrant with your doings thereon at the time and place of said voting given under our hands this day of June 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? 1 second.
Can you repeat the date? I think you said July 28th first time.
Oh, I apologize. It's Tuesday, June 28th, 2022, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Ted Williams Camp, 28 Precinct Street, Lakeville.
Go up to the microphone, please. State your name and address. Thank you.
Dick Scott, Rush Pond Road. In that first sentence, it says eminent domain. What does that mean? In the context of the article, the ballot initiative.
We could take it by eminent domain if we wanted to, but that's not our intention at all.
If the board were to take it by eminent domain, how would the price be established?
The existing price of the $12,725,000. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 8, thank you. Discuss the cover structure of the outdoor stage at the historical Townhouse 2 Precinct Street. I see we have the Lakeville Arts Council, and we also have Nancy LaFave from the Historical Commission. Do you guys want to come up and discuss that, or? It's yours.
What would you like to know?
What would you like to tell us?
Well, the stage has been there since 2014. It was built in 2013. We had our first concert that fall, and now we have concerts, 3 or 4 every July, 3 or 4, since 2014, and we want to progress. But in the summer, we don't spend the money to put a tent over it, and we have saved money so that we could put a structure over it. We now are at the point where we're going to put a structure over it. And it's been approved by the Historic Commission, the shape of the structure and everything, so it fits the area so that they can, so it can look historical like the rest of the area. Right.
We wanted to blend with the gable ends of the different buildings.
Right.
So everybody knows this is behind the townhouse, the old town hall, so everybody knows where that is, where they have their concerts.
Sure, everybody knows where the festival is, right? We're all saying yes, October 1st this year, just in case anyone wants to know. Mark your calendar.
And Nancy, it also gets used by the library, you know, for Teresa's out there doing her children's
Right.
programs.
Yes.
And
I wear more than one hat. Yes, the
Yeah.
Lakeville Public Library has used it a lot, especially during COVID-19 with our children's reading program on story time. So the library benefits.
Yeah.
The Historical Commission is looking ahead towards 2028 when we have our next anniversary. We plan on using it a lot.
See?
And
It will have a cover.
And it will, hopefully we'll have a cover, maybe side drapes.
Yes, that's
Maybe
coming
side
too,
drapes?
yes.
And the
Side drapes
commission-
And sound equipment,
Right, and
Sound.
electricity,
yes, and electricity.
which we already have off the steamroller town privy barn. On April 8th, the Historical Commission did a walkover of the property and the area with photographs and things like that, and we voted, a posted meeting, we voted to approve the design.
Okay,
So the Cultural Council has been working with us for years on the historic townhouse site, so we're very
that's
happy with
great.
the
I'm glad you
relationship.
guys are
Yeah.
moving forward with this project.
Yes.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that we should maybe read Ari's memo into the record.
I was going to, yeah. You want to do it? Go ahead.
Sure. So our town administrator sent us this memo. The staff has been working with the Lakeville Arts Council to explore the feasibility of installing this cover for the outdoor stage area located behind the Old Town Hall. The building commissioner has obtained pricing to procure and install a pre-manufactured structure for the entire project with an estimated value of $50,000. The Arts Council has committed $20,000 from its gifts account, and the Library Board of Trustees has offered $10,000 from its account, leaving a net funding requirement of $20,000. Improvements to the outdoor spaces are eligible use for funding provided to the town through the American Rescue Plan Act, which is also known as ARPA. And to date, the town has received $605,037 in ARPA funding from the U.S. Treasury and has been awarded another $544,555 through the Plymouth County. So an additional $605,037 is due to be provided by the federal government in 2022, along with an unspecified amount by the Plymouth County. So as of this moment, the board has designated $100,000 for COVID mitigation activities and $14,800 for a study on utility services for the town facilities. And the town administrator is recommending that the select board designate $20,000 from the town's ARPA proceeds for this project to close the gap.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the $50,000 based upon the town administrator's recommendation, and have the town administrator sign the contract.
20,000, Rich, do you mean?
No, it's the whole project.
Oh, okay,
The
all
whole
right, so yes,
50,000, yes.
all right, so I'll, so moved.
Okay.
Second?
Any discussion? Any questions? Anybody has any questions? Oops, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just want to thank the ladies. I know how much work Joanne has put into this. And also Nate Darling too. They've been working a lot with Ari on this whole thing, so I know lots and lots of hours.
Could I just make a comment on the 10,000 that the library trustees had recommended? It came out of the capital campaign money. It's not tax dollars. This is all money that we fundraised when we were building the building. And we did all the interior furnishings, all the landscaping out of that fund. And so we still have a little bit left, and we felt that $10,000 out of that is a very appropriate way of spending down that money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the approval.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Number 9 is discuss and vote to approve the request from the Lakeville Arts Council to hold outdoor concerts and stage a historical townhouse on 2 Precinct Street on July 12, 2022, July 19, 2022, and July 26, 2022. So.
Second.
Somebody.
All right, so moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 10 is to discuss a possible vote to appoint, I'm sorry, not wrong one. Discuss a possible vote to approve the request for a change of owner of junk dealer and junk collector license 330 Bedford Street. That junk license has been there a number of years now, which is at the former Savas Plaza, and they have a new owner. So they want to transfer that junk license to
Mr. DeVoli.
Devoli, thank you. So I entertain a motion to transfer that license to Mr. Devoli.
So moved.
Second?
And just want to make sure we got this right here. When does this expire, please?
I think it's May 1st.
So May 1st of 23 now?
Yes.
Okay. Did you?
Yep.
Okay.
He did.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is to, number 11 is discuss possible vote to appoint select board member to Plymouth County Advisory Committee. Oh, so this is all set then? Okay, thank you. Number 12 is discuss a possible vote on the request from the Council on Aging to appoint Nancy Richmond as an alternate member. Somebody want to make that
Yeah, I'll
motion?
make a motion that we appoint Nancy Richmond as an alternate member on the Council on Aging Board of Directors with a term expiration of July 31st, 2022.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next is discuss the possible vote to request the Board of Health to appoint Ed Cullen as the inspector of milk. All of our appointments are usually as of July 31st, so Tracy's recommending so we can keep it consistent, that we make this July 31st, 2023 as well. So entertain a motion to approve the vote on June 1st, 2022 to recommend to the Select Board to appoint Ed Cullen as Inspector of Milk to July 31st, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 14 Discuss a possible vote on the request from the Zoning Board of Appeals to appoint Christopher Campa as a full member of the Zoning Board. We have a letter here from the Zoning Board of Appeals. Please be advised that on May 19, 2022, the Zoning Board unanimously to recommend that Christopher Campo be appointed to a full member of the Zoning Board. Mr. Campo currently is an associate member and will be filling in a position created with Mrs. Klein was elected to the Planning Board. I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved with the expiration of July 31st, 2023.
Second?
Any discussion? Okay, sorry, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, number 15 is discuss possible vote on the request to appoint Jim Rogers to the Economic Development Committee. At our board's meeting on May 23rd, 2022, Select Board Member Carboni has requested that Jim Rogers be appointed to the Economic Development Committee. Mr. Rogers has expressed his interest in joining the committee in his resignation letter from the Master Plan Committee. So I entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Rogers to the Economic Development Committee expiring July 31st, 22.
So moved.
Second, with some discussion.
Sure.
So is there a full committee with his appointment?
Yes.
Now there'll be a full,
Yes.
all right, and I take it then you're meeting again?
Well, once we have the full board, we're gonna
Okay,
call a meeting.
okay. All right, good.
Those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Number 16 is to discuss a possible vote on the request from the town clerk to send letters to the state political committee regarding appointment of election officers. Okay. Let's see, what do we do here now? So he wants us to send a letter because they haven't met, it looks like.
yep,
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
these are the annual letters. We sent out the local letters about a month ago, and we received no response from the local political committees. So the next step is to go to the state political committees. So this is the second step.
Okay. All right, so
I'll make a motion that we send, a letter to the state political committees regarding the appointment of election officers, on behalf of the town clerk.
Second.
any discussion?
Just for information, what that letter would say, because they haven't done it, is that, if they don't appoint, then the town clerk will appoint, but we just need to let them know that that is what will take place.
And also, this is both the Democratic
And the
Town
Republican
Committee
parties.
and the Republican Town Committee.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, next is number 17, discuss and possible vote to approve the request for the outdoor entertainment permit for One Cedar Pond Road. So we have a request from, oh God, I'm gonna butcher this name.
Christine,
It's Christini for an outside entertainment permit for July 30th, 2022 from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. for a backyard barbecue at 1 Cedar Pond Road. The rain date would be July 31st, 2031. Yeah. Entertain a motion to approve this entertainment application.
So moved.
second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, number 18 is discuss and vote the request from the Lakeville Lions for an outdoor entertainment permit for the Fall Family Fun Festival on September 17, 2022 at 170 Main Street. I'll entertain a motion to approve that entertainment license.
So moved.
second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
I'll abstain because I'm a Lions member. Okay, number 19, to discuss a possible vote the request from the Lakeville Lions for a one-day beer and wine special license for the Fall Family Fun Festival on September 17th, 2022 at 170 Main Street. Entertain a motion to approve the license.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All abstain, I'm a Lion member. Okay. Number 20. We, at our meeting on June 3rd, under new business, the board voted to extend the outdoor entertainment permit for the Back Nine Club till 10 p.m. on June 10th, 2022. The board has to vote that entertainment license, so I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next. Okay, number 21 is to review and vote to approve the Selectbook meeting minutes of May 23rd, 2022. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes, Select Board minutes of May 23rd, 2022.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion?
Well, there was a lot of conversation at that meeting, and I would just like to commend and thank Tracy for her. It's not always easy to summarize in written format, but thank you, Tracy. That was a good summary.
You want to say?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda, and it's not till 7 o'clock, so we got about a half an hour to wait. We can't have the public hearing until 7 p.m. So, guess what? You can do your new business. Who wants to go first?
Ari, did you bring the Serpent? I guess we received an email from Ari today that Serpent, which is our South Region Economic Development District, looking for a volunteer from our board if we were interested to participate in, I don't even remember, it's SH.
The MMPO, so this is the transportation group, and remember that this is, as I indicated in my email, this is not a group, this is not a representative selected by the board. Any board member can volunteer to do it, and then the Serpent Commission has an election to decide which four municipal representatives are going to select. So it's up to the board. The board decides you want to just put yourself behind one person or have multiple people work for volunteers. It's entirely up to you.
That committee is important and has to do with the federal funding, when you get a vote. And the mayors of the three major cities, I believe it's at least the three majors, plus there's so many members of select boards from different towns. I think it would be, I served on it many, many years ago. I think it's important to understand, some of the things that are going on, especially with all the funding, federal money that's being thrown around right now. So I don't know if anybody wants to do it.
Do you remember what the commitment was as far as?
It wasn't
once a
once a
month?
month.
Once a month?
2 hours a month. It wasn't big.
Alright.
I'm not interested.
I may be interested, so I'll reach out to Serpent directly and have a conversation with the director about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that would be good.
All right.
Do you have anything else, Lori?
No, I don't. No.
Yeah, I don't know if mine is new or old, but I did go to Plymouth County the other night, and there's a few people that have moved along. A couple were selectmen, select board members who served for a long, long time on the advisory board, so there was some awards given. One was for Commissioner Dan Colada, who, I don't know, has been there for almost 18 years, so there was some celebrating. We approved the county's budget for next year. For folks who may not know, Plymouth County still owns most of the court buildings, and other things, so they have a budget of their own. Also, all the CARES money went through them, so they have staff. But there's one select board member from each of the Plymouth County communities that goes, and we oversee as an advisory board their budgets. Let's see, we approved their budget for next year, and they gave us a presentation, which I believe I forwarded to everybody on. It's not really, much for us because we don't really have parking meters all over town, but they do have a parking ticket program that we could participate in. So if anyone's interested, I say reach out to Ari, but that probably falls under the police chief more than, anything. So those are the highlights from the meeting last week.
Any other new business?
Nope.
Okay. Old business. One of the things I bring up at this meeting that we have to do soon, which I was going to be actually sending an email out for the 27th meeting, is to do two things. The first thing is to town administrator's review is due, number one. Number two is that we established goals for the town administrator. We need to review those goals. And then we also need to review new goals for this coming year. So I'd like you guys to think about that so we can you can send them to town administrator, and we'll consolidate them, and we'll put it on the agenda for June 27th to discuss. Number one. Number two is, if you recall, I don't know, a month or so ago, we talked about doing the review, and the suggestion was that we have one representative of the select board compile all the information, provide, a copy of a review form that everybody would fill out, and it would be summarized, and then that person from the select board would come back to the board and would present it and review it with Ari. So we had talked about Lear doing that. So I don't know if anybody has any preference of doing that or not. So
Leah, if you're still up to doing it, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I have some information that I can I can put together, just different kind of ways that you can do the review. But I can put all that together, and I can work with Ari to get it to everybody. And there's like a couple different ways, and it'll ask each of us to do our own review, and then I can consolidate everything, and then we can put it all together. Sounds good to me. So for new goals, we should have them for the next meeting?
we should have a draft for the 27th if possible, so we can start reviewing that, because,
Yeah.
summer goes by quickly here.
Yep.
And everybody's got vacations and stuff. So I'd like to try to get those, at least the draft, so we can discuss it and maybe even finalize it at that meeting.
Okay.
The review is probably going to take a little longer than 2 weeks, I would think.
Yeah, but I'll narrow down. I think I have 3 different options of the ways that, and it says there's different ones. Who do you want to rate the town administrator? Do we want, more or less people that interact? So I can go through the ones I have and just narrow it down to 2 and two different ways. And then we can either use one of those or we can create our own way from there. But, yeah, and I think I have previous reviews too, just to make sure we're not missing anything.
Chairman?
Yeah.
Would it be helpful for the board to see a self-assessment from me based on the goals that you set out last year? If they put that together.
Yeah,
That would be very helpful.
Yeah, I can work with you, Ari, to get that. My hope is to sort of present once they've done their own and just sort of put it all together. Yeah. Okay.
Are residents of Lakeville included in that review?
They are not.
Oh, so
They-
it's just an interdepartmental thing?
Yeah.
But we will
Oh,
be,
okay.
excuse me, just before you walk away. We will be presenting in an open forum, okay, what the reviews are. And
Among you?
No, you can ask the questions.
So all the other personnel of the staff
Okay.
of the town, it's private,
Oh.
but the town administrator's position,
I
the
see.
review is,
Okay,
yeah,
I
a
get it.
public review.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're welcome. Any other? Did you have something else?
Nope.
Okay. The only thing I'd like to bring up is that, we have a lot of projects that are still pending out here. And we got new projects coming upon us pretty quickly here, as well. So I think we need to have the town administrator update the list, which has a list already, compile it so we can probably discuss some of those issues at our meeting on the 27th. Because I think, we need to figure out where we are, because we have a lot of things going on. The only other update, I think, just trying to buy a little time here, update, that the feasibility study for the fire station and town office building, there's another meeting on this Friday. And the consultant's coming in and give us an update as to where they are in the process and so forth. It's probably gonna be another 3 or 4 months before we're ready to present or discuss anything, but the goal would be the special town meeting in the fall is to ask for some design services so we can actually design the building, so. Anything else? Anything else? Yes. Sure.
Have you picked the location for that facility yet?
No, we're looking at multiple options, in town, depends upon what we do. I mean, the 3 options that we're looking at is using the existing building, town hall, fire station, expand that building, but doesn't look like that's practical to do. Looking at building an independent standalone fire station, or taking the existing building and making that a fire station, building a new town hall. So there's like 3 or 4 options. And we're going through that right now, and cost analysis, which can be significantly expensive to do that. You're welcome. Anybody else got any questions out there? Okay. I'm sorry we're early, but we have to post the public meeting at a specific time, and it's at 7 o'clock. So guys can go out and take a break for a few minutes and come back and go out on the porch out there. It's beautiful out there if you want. So we'll be back.
Recess maybe?
We'll recess and be back at 7 o'clock. Chris. Good evening. We're gonna start the Select Board's meeting again at 7 o'clock. First of all, I'd like to make sure that people understand who's here at the table. We have Sharon Everett, which is one of our town councils, Mark Resnick, the town planner, Leah, myself, Lorraine, town administrator, Ari, and Tracy. Okay. In accordance with the general laws, Chapter 61B, Section 9, the Lakeville Select Board will conduct a public hearing on Monday, June 13, 2022, at 7 p.m. at the Lakeville Council on Aging building located at 1 Deer Crossing, Lakeville, Mass, regarding the proposal to purchase the property located at 44 Clear Pond Road, Lakeville, Mass, known as the Lakeville Country Club, described in a deed recorded with Plymouth County Registry of Deeds in Book 40414, page 215, containing 130 acres, 10 acres, more or less, and being shown at the assessor's map 15, block 001, lot 050 property. The property is owned by Derek and Madeline Maxey, trustees of Webster Realty Trust, the owners. The select board will consider whether the town will purchase the town's first right of refusal to General Law, Chapter 61B, Section 9, to purchase the property. The notice of intent is to sell and occupying documents submitted to the town by the owners may be reviewed at the town clerk's office, Lakeville Town Hall, 346 Bedford Street, Lakeville, during the hours of 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Thursday, and 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., 12 p.m. on Fridays except holidays. Any person interested in wishing to be heard on the matter may appear at the public meeting at the time and place designated above. Okay. First of all, we did, which we are required by law, to invite the Maskies, and I don't see them here, so I guess they chose not to come to the meeting, first of all. Second of all, the reason why we decided to have the public hearing now is because of our Selectmen's meeting on May 23rd. We were discussing some issues and some updates having to do with the property, and we wanted to give everybody one more opportunity to discuss and ask their questions about the property before we vote on it on June 28th. So that's why we're here. And also during that meeting, so we have updated our presentation, and at that meeting on the 23rd, I'm now going to mess her name up here. Brenna Donahue asked to give a 10-minute presentation on her concept of what might be used for the park. So we ask her to come up and do that, please. We'll have to get out of the way here. Everybody see that okay? Okay, good. You're on.
Very good. I think we should purchase this and turn it into a private park. I know that's not necessarily a popular idea, and I know that it costs quite a bit of money. However, small towns thrive when they invest in tourism and recreation. All right. Thank you. So, and research shows that they thrive when they invest in tourism and recreation. It'll boost the local economy, bringing a lot of people in. The pandemic hurt a lot of local businesses, including, my grandmother's family business. So, we are well aware of how it did impact everybody. Alternatively, it would also create a stronger community. There's been a lot of divide lately in having something like a private park where everybody is engaging in similar interests that are away from our divisive topics. It would bring the community together as a whole. And of course, the cons of this are that we would have a debt for 20 years or less. But once that debt is paid off, it would provide substantially for the town. And the second con is that we would need to strengthen our park system. We could turn this into an Assawamsett Recreational Center, ARC for short, and combine all of the parks into a sort of conglomerate that is headquartered at Sassaman Park. Sassaman Park could absorb Clear Pond, and in doing so, it would provide additional funding to the park, as well as reintroduce non-residents at a premium. There was a big issue with non-residents, causing disruptions and littering, I believe, at the park. But reintroducing them through a membership program would hold them accountable. They would need to pay extra money, and if they caused any problems, they would be removed from that membership addition. I'm incredibly ignorant of the staffing situations. I think it would take maybe 2 or 3 full-time employees and several part-time employees. But this aligns with the Parks and Recreation and the master plan who want to expand the Parks Committee. And the town itself acknowledged that it cannot, where's my card on this? It wants to apply for federal grant because it acknowledges that it cannot continue putting debts on the tax-paying citizens. This park project would take away some of that debt because once profit comes into play, we can start applying that to our debts. Additionally, we could provide in the building a large 8x8 map of Lakeville, like they do in zoos almost, that would illustrate the current parks and areas in Lakeville, as well as activities that are allowed or prohibited there. This is an example of one town and their kind of map for their park systems. And this is similar to what it would look like for Lakeville. These next two slides are in no way meant to disparage the Lakeville Country Club. I love that land. They are only meant to illustrate what the problem is currently with that land. This is one of the holes. This is the measured length of it. I believe it's 3.75 acres on the fairway. And the green is 9,500 feet. So, through research online, it came up that to create a hole for golf would be about $50,000 to $175,000 for a really upscale course. I actually called the man who wrote that, Bill Amick. He was an older gentleman. I think he made the site quite a long time ago, but he couldn't give me much information, but he did say it would cost less to repair it than it would be to create it. But the average cost to run a golf course per year is $500,000 to $1 million a year. And a hypothetical situation, if we needed to repair 9 greens at 20 grand a piece, that's $180,000 for repair alone. These are all of the reviews, or these are some reviews for the Lakeville Country Club from March 2020 to May 2022. The red ones are negative. The green ones are positive. And the pizza slices have to do with the food. Needless to say, the golf course needs work. Regardless of whether or not we lease that out to somebody to manage, we would need to cover some of that. 27.2% of people recommend this course on a golf review site. There are 6 available grant programs that we could look into. They all have to do with either the acquisition or creation of local parks. One of them has to do with fruit trees in the park, and that would require planting an orchard. But with all of the issues going on, having food security is not necessarily a bad thing. And I remember on my trip to Italy, one of the best things was just walking down the street and picking a lemon out of the sky. This is an example in Mashpee where the CPA funded a splash pad and a playground. We passed the CPA last year, which means that that would be funding that would be available to us for this project. This is this is a sample of what a membership could look like. Day passes, it's common to have them $10 or $5 for under 18. It would be free before 9:30 a.m. for people who are morning birds or people who lost their spaces in the pandemic where they taught yoga or physical training. This way we could have access to the park and their clients would only be paying for their class as opposed to paying the membership entrance as well. Memberships for individuals and groups would be discounted for seniors and veterans, and people with memberships could enjoy perks that other people couldn't, like driving into the park. If you're just there on a day pass, you're in the parking lot, but if you get that membership, you can drive to where your destination is. Lakeville residents and first responders and their families would have automatic membership. Group membership discounts need to have some rules to prevent abuse, and abusive grounds or neglect of the rules would result in, again, taking that aspect of your membership away. So if your dog attacks other dogs in the dog park, or if you litter at Clear Pond after receiving a couple warnings. The park would work on a tiered system where it wouldn't be expected that everything would just be built at once. You'd start slow and you'd explain what you're going to escalate to next, and then that way people could actually donate. They can donate specifically to the next tier in that project, and they can see what they're donating to. So for example, with the playground, if you're starting small, they can see, okay, this is what's going to be next. I want that for my child. Here's $5. So they can donate specifically to the parts of the park that they want to upgrade. This is a simple park overview. I couldn't include everything, but I included the 5 main moneymakers that would bring people to this location. And then I also included some maintenance-free zones, which are currently, they cost so much for maintenance, but their primary use is aesthetic value. So without it being a golf course, we can do things like plant wildflowers, which would help in the community garden area, or we could plant low-maintenance clover in other areas that reduces the maintenance significantly. That pink block is the contention area. That's okay. So this is an example of one of the site rental areas. It's very open, but it's very shady. So it's perfect for family parties, graduations, birthdays. And there's just a couple different pictures of that. That's a different location, same location from a different area. Members could have a games shed where, they don't have to bring their own things of can jam or cornhole. They can just take it from the community shed, which they would put back. This is an example of a pavilion, and this is the proposed wedding venue. It's on a slope, so it's protected from the rest of the golf course and has a nice water view. The event space is already there. The tier stage in the event space is pretty much buying new things for new events, like a movie screen, a bonfire pit, constructing small stages for music. The first event that would be able to go would be the Food Truck Fridays because the road already goes through and the space is there. These are some examples of flyers. They were drawn up by a woman named Laura Costello-Coons. Perfect work, and they perfectly illustrate some things that we could do with the space. Some of these events already take place in Lakeville, like the Thanksgiving bonfire. It's currently at the high school, but I think if we centralized the events, attendance would up. This is the dog park. I think that's a video that you might have to just. There would be no initial dog park. We would denote the area with wildflower growth to reduce the maintenance and put a coming soon sign, similar to how they have in zoos. More than 25 million American households adopted pets, so including cats and dogs, but 90% of those people retained their pets. And doggy daycare costs $400 a month, so people are willing to spend money on their pets. Additionally, once the dog park is constructed, we can rent out parts of the fence for advertising, whether it's for pet services or just general advertisements. This is an example of the local dog parks. That First Street, it's not a dog park, it just showed up on Google Earth. But as you can see, there are no dog parks within that 10-mile radius. This is a Dartmouth dog park, Kingston, New Bedford. The New Bedford dog park actually requires the key fob and the membership that I spoke about existing at this dog park. This is the playground area. The playground area is centralized to the middle of the park, so the kids' safety would never be in question, or it would be less likely that the kids would be in danger because in order to, perform a kidnapping, they would need to go through the entire park or out the exit. So the location for this was very carefully chosen. Additionally, it's right next to one of the rental sites, and it has 2 large sand pits, which you need to get rid of that sand. But once you truck in sand the kids can play in, you have 2 huge sandboxes. That video just details the space. I figured you would have the longer lawn, and that would come up in the tier 2 stage of the playground. You could add swings and things for older kids, whereas the current green would be where I suppose jungle gym would be the word would be. Disc golf. Disc golf is an incredibly popular sport, and it's rising quickly. There is only one disc golf course within the 10-mile radius. That is that white circle. It jumped 33% increase from 2019 to 2020. And now there are 5 disc golf courses being built a day. Currently, there is only one in our area. If we established a disc golf course, it would draw people from both the Middleborough one and all around the state. Community garden, there would be no community garden at first. We would take the time to denote the areas and figure out what we want to do and where we want to put it. But we have the Dollar Tree in store now. Dollar Tree constantly has affordable gardening supplies, whether it's pots, trowels, all of it. And we could use a shipping container for the community shed, as opposed to spending a whole bunch of money building one or purchasing one. The senior and disabled accessible area, I've noticed an increase in people fishing lately in the pond, and I found these gentlemen down by the pond fishing. It was, I imagine, a man who was the caretaker of these 2 older disabled gentlemen, and it was just really nice watching them. So I included them and the seniors in this area by giving them a space in the park that would not inspire any fear that they might be stuck in the park. I know that that's one reason that some seniors don't go out, is that they're afraid of being stuck somewhere. So the other issue is loneliness. Loneliness is like fertilizer to diseases. It severely impacts your mental and physical health. And after the pandemic, a lot of people in both of these demographics suffered from that. So this is the health risks of loneliness. I'm smoking, equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, rather. And the median age of Lakeville is 44. We are over 15% in that retirement age. So seniors make up a significant portion of our population. This is a video that will play. And that area, that's okay. The other arrow. Yeah, please. There we go. So that area is actually very close to the clubhouse. It would be very simple to make it handicap accessible, and it provides a large view of the park. It is separated but not segregated. So they wouldn't be exposed to the noise of the playground or the event space. They would have a very comfortable place that is easily accessible and provides, their mental well-being and socialization. The estimated total cost, again, I'm very ignorant of this. I did what I could to find the prices. The playground would be covered under the grant. Hopefully, we would apply for some of them. But the estimated material cost would be less than $50,000. I know that sounds a lot, but please bear in mind that there are 6 grants that we can apply for, and we have CPA funds. These are just some examples of the things that I found. This is Look Park. Look Park is in Northampton, Massachusetts. It's a privately owned park, and it's different in that it was land gifted to the town, and it has a trust fund operation, but it receives absolutely no money. It funds itself entirely. It has similar things that are proposed here: miniature golf course, walking trails, pavilions, and wedding venues. They also have Food Truck Fridays. They see 500,000 visitors a year, and while I don't estimate that number coming to Lakeville, it is important for this next park. They have a seasonal pass for $65, or they charge $5 a car from Monday to Thursday. Going by the lowest possible projection for Look Park's model, that's okay. 500,000 people divided 4 people into a car is 125,000. 5 times 125,000 is 650,000. $625,000. So that's the lowest projection from the numbers that are available on their site. Using the nearest census data, the towns immediately around Lakeville, which do not have amenities or open space like we do, there are 62,261 households with a population of around 164,575 people. If we get 3,000 of those households to purchase family memberships, at $600,000. Covers the maintenance, covers the employees, covers all of it. And everything after that would be given back to the town to pay down the debt to purchase this property. So in conclusion, parks are proven profitable. Successful small towns invest in recreation and tourism, and in 20 years or less, this debt will be paid. Any profits that this park brings in going forward would help us pay off the many projects that we have coming up. And other potential amenities in this space, there's those tables that have chessboards on top of them. There's life-size chessboards. I'm also meeting with the Cemetery Commission tomorrow to discuss the possibility of cremation sites. And the other thing is cherry blossom trees. The DC Cherry Blossom Festival brings in between $100 million and $160 million on an annual basis. The nearest Cherry Blossom Festival is in New York. So this is actually one of my favorite trees in the golf course. Yeah, what's the next one? Oh, it goes over it. Hold on. Excuse me. Sorry. Other way. Yep. Thank you for bearing with me. Cherry trees grow in this space. They grow very well. And if this would be a big decision for the town, but we have every capability of becoming one of those towns that has a week-long festival that provides significant income to subsidize our yearly budget. In conclusion, the park also meets 4 of the 8 main themes in the master plan. It promotes the local economy, it supports the local economy, it balances growth, it makes accessible recreation, and it promotes Lakeville's history and culture. And that's the end. Thank you. Should I take the laptop now or later?
Okay, so now questions until after we finish this, and then we'll call on you, okay? You're welcome. So we've seen this presentation a couple of times, as you know, and we continue to update it with updated information. And we wanted to make sure that everybody has the right information and the same information to make whatever decision they decide to do. So once again, you know, the golf courses in town, we have McCoy Brook, built in 65 and was purchased in 93 for $4 million. Purchased in 2016 recently for 2.8. It's currently assessed at $2.3 million. Now, that's not an appraisal now, that's an assessment from the Board of Assessors, just so everybody knows. Back 9 was built in 1971, foreclosed on in 2008, and purchased in 2008 for $1.1 million, and currently is assessed at $2.2 million. The Barron Country Club, which is a private club, was built in 2000, purchased in 2020 for $1.6 million, land only, and currently is assessed for $6 million. Lakeville Country Club was built in 1969 and foreclosed on April of 2011. Currently assessed at $1.7 million. In January of 2011, was purchased for $5 million, but they had to auction off the property for some particular reason, and it was purchased at auction by the Maskies for $3.2 million. The Lakeville Country Club is made up of 61A agricultural land, which is primarily the cranberry bogs on Crooked Lane and Stetson Street of 20 acres. The town meeting decided not to support the debt exclusion to buy the cranberry bogs, which were not necessary to do. The Chapter 61B recreational land, which is at 44 Clear Pond Road, which is the golf course, is 138 acres plus or minus. Town meeting approved to do the debt exclusion and have an election. State law provides that the town with the opportunity to declare its intention to purchase the property within 121 days and first right of refusal. On March 4th, 2022, the town received 2 purchase and sale agreements consisting of the Chapter 61A, which is the 20 acres for $900,000, which was the cranberry bogs. 61B, 138 acres, which was $12,725,000. The town has until July 2nd, 2022 to determine whether to exercise the right of first refusal. The total purchase price is $13,625,000. That number should have been changed, Larry, which would be equivalent to 40% of the operating budget. It should be $12,725,000. The Board of Assessors and the Town Council reviewed the purchase and sale agreement and have determined they are valid and contain no contingencies. Town meeting supported the debt exclusion question for the 61B property only. The Select Board voted on April 25th, 2022 to send the right of refusal question to town meeting. Town meeting voted to send a debt exclusion for the purchase of the Chapter 61B property of $12,725,000 to on June 28th, 2022 at a special election. Implementation of the debt exclusion would involve a surcharge on all property taxes. The estimated impact for the average taxpayer would be $208 to purchase the property. Interest paid would be a total of $6.6 million for a total cost of the town of $19.3 million over 20 years. The final authority on whether to exercise the right of this first refusal belongs to the Select Board. Going to have the town planner come up here and talk about the map of the property itself.
Okay, this is a map in the green and in the red showing the area of that was under chapter land. However, it was filed under chapter land, but not all of it is available for the town to purchase. In the area in green is the area that we are currently able to purchase because that land is still being assessed under chapter land. If you know where Reservoir Ave is, there's a red area that's outlined at the bottom of the red area. That is 2 house lots that Derek created in 2020, and those are taxed at full value. So those lots are excluded from the town's ability to purchase. The odd-shaped lot above it and to the right is the solar fields. Those fields, I believe, were there before Derek purchased it. It was filed under chapter land, but it's been taxed at full value all along, so we are excluded from purchasing that. The other last piece that's in red is the area that includes kind of the base area of the golf course. It includes the driveway coming in off of Clear Pond Road, the parking area, the area around all the buildings. That area, the way that is taxed is all the buildings are taxed at full value, and 70,000 square feet of land is taxed at full value. What that means is that at least that area is about 250,000 square feet. So at least 70,000 square feet of that land is unavailable. The assessors generally feel that the way they do it is they tax the frontage when they do 61A or 61B property, the frontage and the access in, and a house lot, because that's what they're assessing it as. So the area and the access off of Clear Pond Road may be excluded, although we could argue as a town that it doesn't exclude the access, it excludes the area around the buildings, and because that's the area that's used around the buildings, which are taxed at full value. So there's a little bit of non-clarity on that one area there, which, so that kind of explains the parcel here. The other thing to note is that the first part of the excluded land that I talked about, those 2 lots, is where the 18th fairway lies. So if we go ahead with the purchase, we're only purchasing 17, basically a 17-hole golf course, which there are 2 other lots below that, which are privately owned. Only one has an easement to the benefit of the golf course, and the other one does not, and contains a portion of the 17th fairway and 18th tee boxes. So, and if we have the right to have access off of Clear Pond Road, we could use that, but if not, there is access at the bottom of the map off of Crooked Lane. There's currently, it may be partially developed with a driveway to a house back there, but the land is there and is part of the golf course. So, and
Okay, so some of the exclusion and additional considerations about purchasing this property. The purchase and sale agreement excludes all improvements located on land, including the house, the clubhouse, the maintenance building, the cart barn, and paved areas that are not taxed under 61B. So if we were interested in using those facilities and those improvements, we would have to negotiate a separate contract with the Maskies to buy that. The solar farm, which Mark, already talked about, but the most important thing is that the portions of the 17th and 18 holes are developed areas, and there's currently no easement that's allowed for the golf course to use that property for the golf course. So if the town did purchase the property, they would immediately have to reconfigure the golf course or whatever to do something with it or not do something at all. So as Mark pointed out, having to do with the clarity, of what we're actually buying. And I want you to know that both the town administrator previously and just recently, we sent letters demanding from the Maskies to clarify the 138 acres and what's outstanding, and we did not get any response, just so everybody knows. And anybody can have copies of those letters if they want them. We also, Mark had just mentioned, having to do with the access from Clear Pond Road, which is not clear because that red part of the property is not under 61A. So we'd have to negotiate with them to decide whether they'd be interested in selling any part of that property back to the town to use that part of the property for access and or buildings. And as we've already said a number of times, that we're not entitled to any equipment, any mowers, any golf carts, which are likely leased anyways. So nothing comes to the top from that perspective. One of the big issues that we talked about, and I was asked at the May 23rd meeting, was to call the Beach family about the covenant that's on the property, and I did do that. And Ed Beach, longtime resident here of Lakeville, and his family, that what he said was that his father was very, very specific, that he gave $1 million reduction in the price to the previous owners, not Maskies before them, that said that if it doesn't remain a golf course, they had to pay us back $1 million. So it also says in there that if you use 1 square inch of any of that property for any other area, then you owe us $1 million. So it has to remain 100% as a golf course, and that's the way it's got to be. It can't be a 9-hole. It has to be an 18-hole. And he felt, and his family felt, that they originally gave $1 million discount, and they wanted to maintain it the way it is, and it's not going to be maintained the way it is. It just can't be. Based upon what Mark just pointed out, then we're going to have to do something with the 18th hole, with turnaround right away isn't in violation of the covenant. And by the way, he had his attorney review it as well. Okay, just so you know, and looking at the area of the property itself, the 61B area, out of the 138 acres, 58 of those acres are in floodplain, are in wetlands that can't be used. Okay, so if you subtract that, I believe you get it down, if you have the number down over there. What's the difference between 138 and 58? You get down to what? 80. So according to the zoning bylaws that we have, is that only 50% of those 80 acres can be developed. That's it. So it has to stay, that's the way it is. So it's 40 acres of that land that can be developed only. All right, so there was some questions that came up and maybe some misunderstanding about the excluded debt bill that we currently have, okay? Ari put together this, walking away. Ari put together this spreadsheet here that shows the capital improvements that we currently have spread out over, I guess he did 5-year projections. And what it would cost as far as the Lakeville Country Club property, so forth and so on, over that 5-year period. And how much your tax bill would be based upon the current excluded debt that we currently have and projected out based upon the projects that have already been approved with debt exclusions. So you can see in 2027, it's $600. A lot of that has to do with the police station. That was a debt exclusion. It has money to do with the Route 79 project, was a debt exclusion, as well. So some of the notes here, the Freetown Lakeville School District will be retired in 2026. Old Colony Vocational School District has just been approved by the state to do a feasibility study for either major renovation or reconstruction of their building. That project alone would be at least $100 million, and we get 50% reimbursement on that. And then our share, we have almost 30% of the, this is all available online if you want, just so you know. All of it's, so we would be paying at least $15 million of the share of that. And I think that's a low number, okay? But I want you to give an idea what's coming in 2024 or 2025, and that would add another significant amount of money onto your debt, if it gets approved, of course. The fire station is included in this estimate. At this point, we're estimating the fire station to cost somewhere between $13 million, and that's strictly just for the fire station. That does not include any renovations that may be required for the new town hall. Lakeville Senior Center that we're in right now, in Betty's Neck debt, has retired in 2022, and that was costing the town $35,000 a year and $60,000 a year. The Lakeville Library will be paid off in 2024 of $106,000, and Route 79, as I mentioned, will be going in as well. All of those numbers having to do with the Lakeville Senior Center, the Betty's Neck debt, the Route 79, and an estimated cost of a fire station is included, in that in those totals up there. But we still have some significant capital items that are going to be coming forward. Another one that we just got a grant for the Assawamsett School was to replace all the windows in Assawamsett, and some of those windows are 50 years old. So we're getting paid 50% reimbursement for that. We're anticipating that cost somewhere between $3 to $4 million. So that's another major project that is coming to the town. Our beautiful senior center that you're in here is 20 years old now, and we planned on putting an addition on there, and we're doing a feasibility study as we speak. We are hoping to get grant money to do that, but that could be anywhere from $750,000 to another $1 million, just so everybody knows. Okay, I hope that clarifies the questions that we had at the last meeting. You certainly can ask me another question when I'm done. So basically the ongoing funding requirements, additional requirements upon the purchase would include an environmental assessment, title search and survey. And, those are significant costs, to survey the property. It's a significant amount of property to survey. We'd also do a title search on all the titles because, quite frankly, they're a mess over years. They've changed hands and people sold lots and stuff like that. So there'd be a title search to need. one of the most important things to me is to do a 21E. And what a 21E is to verify that property has no hazardous waste. That is a concern because we know there's been some concerns with that property for a number of years. So, our estimated basic maintenance, just to keep it the way it is, to try to, maintain it, would be $500,000 per year to clear the brush, maintain the grounds. And then if we were going to make significant improvements to that facility and keep it as a golf course and whatever, it'd be another $700,000. The golf course initial capital investment based upon the analysis that we've done would be $1.5 million to maintain the facility, as a golf course, which is not likely going to happen now. We could also hire a firm, to take care of it, whatever. I mean, that's a good possibility. So I guess that's kind of, where we are right now. I hope we've answered all the additional questions that we have received. And if you have any questions, nobody will have any questions, of course. So please come to the microphone, state your name and your address, and we'll do the best we can to answer.
Center from 103 Staple Shore Road. Excuse me. I want to thank Ms. Donahue for the presentation. It was very nice. And indeed, some beautiful ideas. However, I see the cost, and I see the cost rising maybe because of the purchase of more right-of-ways beyond what we already know. We're looking at $1,275 plus another million, maybe $1,375. It just, the revenues from your presentation, it'd be nice, but they're unknown for certain. The question I have is this an all or nothing? I, just like Ms. Donahue, are definitely against a warehouse being put in there. But it just seems right now we're being faced with, we either have to buy it or a warehouse is going in. So I had some questions looking at the town of Lakeville zoning map. And I see this as, excuse me, zoned business. And I want to thank the board. I got to read their minutes when they were discussing this. And to me, it seems like business, when you look at under business, the business use, there's nothing about a warehouse, only under industrial use. It says no for residential and no for business, yes for industrial and yes for industrial business. So I was looking at the minutes and they were saying there's this DOD application and the Development and Opportunities District. And it says the purpose of the Development Opportunities District is to authorize the innovative use of certain proposals of a defined overlay district for the activities appropriate for large areas of insurance or special permits with safeguards and conditions to prevent detrimental effects and impact upon neighboring properties, natural resources, and upon the town of Lakeville as a whole. So I look at this zoning map and I see planned special purpose overlay district, which is in the north part of Lakeville on the Middleborough border, and it's in green and the green lines. So the property we're talking about is not in that district. There's also on the northeast side, there's a small growth overlay district. So this business property is not in the overlay districts. It goes on to say the intent of the DO district is to provide opportunities for economic development and expansion in a planned multi-use district. Well, I see multi-use districts as industrial and business, and that's in blue on this map, and that again is not part of this property. This property isn't a multi-use district, it's just rated business. So if it's rated business, how does it get changed into industrial so a warehouse can be put in?
Okay, let me answer your first question. The town has 20 days to decide whether to purchase this or not, period. It's no ifs, ands, or buts, okay? If it doesn't purchase it, okay, then it goes to the planning board, and then the planning board would decide whether this project is a viable project, okay? So we get a special permit. So, Mark, do you want to explain the DOD district without,
Okay.
quickly?
Shortly. Yes, so the Development Opportunities District is an overlay district that is overlaid across the entire town, is how it's written. And it requires a minimum of 25 acres of land.
So then the zoning map is.
So it overlays all the underlying districts. So whether the underlying district is residential, commercial, industrial, or some other zone, it doesn't really matter. As long as you meet the requirements for the Development Opportunities District, which is a minimum of 25 acres.
So anybody that had a residential property with 25 acres could go to the planning board, get a special permit and put in a warehouse.
Yes, they could apply for that. That's correct. It's not, it's a special permit, so it's not an absolute right that you will get it approved. Furthermore, maybe you'll get it approved, but with conditions, with modifications, with changes to mitigate the impacts of
Upon the town
proposal.
and the local residents.
Exactly, that's correct. So this has not gone through any of that process. So you're just talking about we know they want to do a warehouse facility, but as far as the review of that, that has not happened.
Okay, any question, next question?
Hi, Susan Spieler, 10 Valley Road. So, of course, we're here tonight because the DO district has put us in this position once again. And it's going to continue to do that until we remove
Susan?
this. Yes,
Can you put that microphone down a little?
Oh,
bit?
sure.
Thank you.
is that better?
That's better. Thank you.
Until we remove this from our zoning, which I believe, Mark Resnick, you submitted something to the select board to have it reviewed.
That's correct.
So
been-
do we know when that will be on the agenda?
It'll be on the next select board's agenda.
Okay, and then it would go to the planning board for
And
a
then-
public hearing?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. So, anyways, Brenna, you did a great job. Kudos to you. I mean, if we do decide to purchase this property, we really should get a committee together to just go over all the different options that we have to develop this property. There are grants out there. CPA could help eventually with any projects within the park. There are other ways to help with the revenue for this. So I do have a few questions for you.
There's a lot of people here.
I know, I'm quick, I'm going quick. So anyways, is this vote that we're doing on the 28th, is it a binding vote, or can you, as the board, overturn it the very next day when you vote as the select board on the 29th?
Yeah, we said that right from the beginning, that this is only the funding source. The Board of Selectmen have the final decision whether to exercise this first right of refusal.
So
or
that
not.
means that if we decide as a town that we want to vote for this, you, the very next day, could turn around and say, sorry, we're revoking what you have just decided.
That's correct.
Really? So then why
I
are
told
we?
you that right from the beginning.
So why
Susan.
are we doing this tonight then? Or what, because you have to do it by law. So now you're wasting the taxpayers' money to have an election that you could potentially overturn.
I'm sorry. If you go back, what we said, and you were at the meeting, Susan, okay? And the three board members said that we wanted to bring it to town meeting to see
Correct.
what town meeting was gonna vote. If town meeting voted, then we'd bring it to a ballot question. But we did that. We didn't even have to do that
I
at
know,
that
I
time,
understand that.
okay?
But now you have brought it to a ballot question
I'm
and
just telling you what the law is. That's the law. I don't make up the laws in
so we
Massachusetts.
basically know that you're gonna overturn it because both you and Leah are against this.
I've been against it from the beginning. Day one, I would have rejected this thing. I think this is a ridiculous proposal.
So then why did
Fine.
you allow the town to bring it to the town meeting then? You could have just voted then.
These two people decided they wanted to do that, and I said, I'll go along with it.
Wow.
Go
Amazing.
back and look at the meeting.
I have looked at the meeting. I just want clarification that you can overturn the vote the next day.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I saw in your presentation on the golf course that the cost was 40% of the operating budget, and I'm wondering what the annual cost would be as a percentage of the operating budget, not the total cost.
We can give you an estimate, but we certainly don't have final numbers on that because these are all preliminary numbers at this point.
It would be about between $600,000 and $1 million per year, depending on what those final numbers are.
Possibly.
Okay. Back when...
Can I just stop you one thing? I
Yes,
want to say
of
one
course.
thing about that. The first thing is that the only thing that is approved for appropriation so far is the purchase of the property of $19.2 million. Right? Everybody understands that. So the $1 million in contingency that we have to pay and the additional money that we have to pay to run the facility, to do whatever we decide to do, if that's a $2 million to do that between the two, we'll be asking to go to town meeting for another override.
I understand that.
Okay,
The
just wanted to
only
show-
point I'm trying to make, and bear with me, is it's 40% of the operating budget as a total outlay, but the cash flow is much lower as a percentage of our operating budget. So if we were to exercise the purchase and keep it as a golf course, we would have one number. If we were to exercise the purchase and not have it as a golf course, it would be another number because we'd have to go back to town meeting and fund it. The point I'm trying to make, and I'm leading into what my prepared statement is, when we purchased the Ted Williams camp, we had no idea exactly how the use was going to unfold. And the point I think I'm trying to make is a plot of property that's this large has multiple benefits to the town. We've heard Brianna's view of what it would look like as a park. We certainly know what a warehouse would look like, but we've not really explored, quote unquote, what a mixed use project would look like. Okay? And a mixed use project would have the opportunity for open space. It would have the opportunity for residential, both 40B and senior housing, and it would have the opportunity for commercial. The real question we're asking ourselves is, who's going to make that decision? Is it going to be Bridgestone? What's the name of the company? Northbridge and Matsky's. What I'm saying is the town people should be allowed to make that choice. And I would encourage the selectmen to honor the vote that we're about to take. Last thing I'm going to say is I went through the exercise on the hospital property, both as a mixed use.
We're not going there. Not going to the hospital property. Thank
You have to go at least to the point about the warehouse.
We're not going there.
There's detrimental uses with the
This
warehouse.
public meeting is about the Lakeville Country Club.
Then I have to
Period.
talk about the alternative of not purchasing.
I'm sorry. This is about the Lakeville Country Club.
If it's a warehouse, there are detrimental impacts that need to be understood.
That's a different situation, and that's...
It's not, because that's the alternative we're faced with, a warehouse or buy it.
You're not listening, Dick. You have to go, you have to go to the planning board.
Hi, I live on Reservoir.
Excuse me.
Oh,
Excuse me. Excuse me. First of all, you know, I was here when we bought the Ted Williams camp.
So was I.
Okay. And the Ted Williams camp had all kinds of fields, it had buildings, and it had stuff like that. It was already a mature piece of property then we bought it, okay? It was not a golf course. It was not a vacant piece of land. So that piece of property that we paid, I think, $1.6 million to buy that property. My point, one of my points is that the town has 130 acres at Ted Williams Camp. They got 300 acres at Betty's Neck. We got 68 acres at Clear Pond. We got 44 acres at the Tamarack and John Pond or whatever. We already have a significant amount of land, parkland, that we already own. Thank you.
I need to be
Go
able
ahead.
to respond to that.
No,
I do,
no, she's next. She's next.
then I would like to be after her.
No, the next person. Go ahead.
I give my time.
There's no time here. We're on a town meeting.
Darrell Brody, I was on the park commission for 8 terms. We bought that property for $2.65 million after mitigation. Tel Williams Camp. It was taken by eminent domain. And just so you people know, we financed it by the sale of industrial parkland. We got it for nothing. And we had a lot of hard work and a lot of good people back then. A lot of them are gone now, to put their time and effort into this property. But we had a business plan, what we were gonna do to pay it off. And that's all I asked for. What is the business plan?
Okay, just to follow, Darrell, just to follow up on that, do you remember when we bought the Ted Williams Camp, we also owned the tennis club?
Yes, sir.
And we sold the tennis club off, I believe it was for $800,000 or $900,000, so the cost of the town was significantly less, just so you know.
Right, and then why did we sell it?
Why are we talking about Ted Williams?
I just asked a question, sorry.
Just so you know.
Go ahead.
We wouldn't get that here.
All right, Darrell, forget it. Let it go. Go ahead.
Okay, just a couple of things. I live on Reservoir Ave. And what I haven't heard mentioned here tonight, and I want to remind people that this is an agricultural community. And there are people that live in this area. There's one woman who said that she was a 5th generation Lakeville resident, and her family had a chicken farm. There are chicken farms, there are goat farms, there are people that have sheep, and I don't think you realize the wealth of what you have here. And there are things that you can do with those resources. For example, there are a lot of people that are millennials, like my son's age, who would love to learn how you do chicken farming. And there are people who are knitters who would love to see how yarn is spun from wool. I mean, I think if we could just get a little creative and think outside the box, I don't think that it would be, I think that the options would be much better if we just tried to come up with solutions. That, there are people that live in this community that have knowledge that other people would love to learn. I would pay $40 to go and watch someone spin yarn from wool. And I know there are people in this town that do that.
Okay, thank you. Dick?
This piece of land's going to be there 30 years when we're all gone. And we will have to face the fact that we may have missed an opportunity to do something better than a loud, traffic-generating, polluting warehouse. And you can tell me to shut up about the noise, but our current zoning does not allow sufficient buffering between residents and an industrial use this intense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Jenkins. I live on Pickens Street. A couple questions. It was mentioned early in the presentation that you said these are the assessed values, not the appraised values. What's the difference? And we look at an assessed value, and then we look at appraised, and isn't appraised usually much higher?
It is.
Okay, so the value of the property, when we look at the appraised value, in a sense, it's not misleading, but it's not accurate to what the property's actually worth.
So it's no different than your house, John? If you look at the appraised value of the assessor's map, you'll find it substantially less than if you went and done an appraisal to sell your house?
I get it. Yeah,
All right.
I agree. Let me just say one other thing as an opinion. This is a very bad situation for the town, period. And I'm not surprised that Mr. Maskey didn't show up. I wouldn't show up if I was him doing what I was doing. But he's probably watching, and I would be I would be unprofessional to wave with one finger at him right now, but it is a tough situation, and it can certainly drive everyone apart and get everyone very upset. And it's an opportunity that will be extremely expensive to prevent losing it. It's that simple. So we're going to lose the opportunity because of the cost that these guys have wheeled this into. So it's difficult to really wrap your arms around it and say, I'm going to give that much money to something that's appraised at this and it's valued at that. With that in mind, part of the presentation said financials were requested, but they've not yet made available. Doesn't the seller have to make that available when you're selling a business like this? Don't we have access to, is this thing making or losing money right now?
Mr. Ray, you want to answer that question?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
No, they're not required to give us any financial information. They're only required to give us information about the property and the terms of the purchase.
I see. And this ex-selectman, Mr. Maskey, has decided to not provide that to the town. Okay. You mentioned that in one of the first slides, you said the final authority belongs to the select board. And I understand why you said that. And then it was brought right out, what's the vote? And the opinion was, well, the select board is going to vote this down. So my question is, what will influence the select board to change their mind if the ballot vote comes through at 70 or 80% of the voters are saying, don't vote it down, buy it? How does one influence the select board at this point with the few days we have?
You want to ask me that question?
You are select board. I would ask you as a select man, but I can't use the phrase anymore. It has to be select board.
I've been a town official in this town for 37 years. 20 years on the finance committee, 12 years on the board of selectmen, and 6 years on the library trustees, thereabouts. I always do what's right for the town. No matter, you may disagree with me. You may disagree with me. This is a bad financial decision for the town. I've said that.
That's not
I'm sorry.
appropriate. No, I mean, you should come up to the microphone. That's what I mean.
Yeah, thank you. I've said it, and I've said it a dozen times. This is a ridiculous deal for the taxpayers of Lakeville. That's my position.
May I?
So there is no influence at this point?
You're not gonna influence me. I've already said, I've said it right from the beginning. I would go along with this.
Does it take a two out of three select person vote?
2 to 1.
2 to 1.
Okay. Miss Leah.
So I was on the Board of Assessors for 4 years before I became a selectman. And I'd like to caution folks that the assessments follow the market trend on housing about a year. So if anyone's paying attention to what's going on with house prices, we may be seeing valuations in your actual assessment going up as well. So I know my kid's trying to buy a house. They've overbid on 4 houses and they still haven't gotten a house, and the prices are $100,000 more this year than they were last year. So, and I know exactly what's going to happen for the assessors next year. Folks are going to be applying for abatements because they're not going to be able to understand why the valuations went up. But the assessments follow the market trend in real estate by a year. It's just one more concern that is making this whole thing so difficult.
Taxes will go up.
Yep.
We understand that. I understand that. I've watched the presentation. We dropped 1.4 million for a fire truck. We're going to expand the fire department so the truck fits. We're going to do this. Taxes will go up as we spend money. My point is, there's no influencing the select board to say yes, which is discouraging at this point. sometimes your kids make mistakes and you gotta let them make them. And right now, maybe you are the most educated, experienced, and historically knowledgeable person here, but I think there's a lot of kids that are saying, I know all that, but I still don't want a warehouse. I still want to put a park in.
Any other questions, John?
Yes. Non-clarity on the access road. There was some non-clarity about the access road.
Yes.
Who determines that, and when is that determined before we get to a ballot?
We have to negotiate that with Derek, and we've reached out to Derek twice, and he refuses to talk to us.
If Derek
You know
refuses,
why? You know why he refuses to talk to us?
he doesn't like you?
No. I don't care whether he likes me or not. That doesn't make any difference to me. But he's saying, wait a minute, I got $15 million out there.
Yeah.
You know, I want my $15 million. That's what he cares about. Okay? So he's not going to come to us and say to us, oh, well, we'll negotiate with you for that area and we'll sell it to you for $500,000. He's not going to do that. Would you?
I'll reserve my opinion on that.
Well, I would.
There's a separate contract for improvements to be negotiated with the sellers. Again, is that Derek negotiating the improvements?
No, that's if we go out and we run the golf course and have a contractor run it for us.
Got it. One last question, I promise.
It's all right.
You mentioned 21E results. You said the one thing I like to do is go out and get a 21E survey done. There could be hazardous waste there.
Yes.
It's been run as a golf course for how many years? Since the 60s?
69, I think.
50, 60 years, and all of a sudden there's hazardous waste?
Well, you got to remember, this is not natural land.
Uh-huh.
This land was, there was all kinds of gravel and everything, and there was numbers of operations running in that area, and we do know there was a battery fire there, and DEP had to be brought in, so there was hazardous waste that was spilled on that property. So it has to be checked. The town would never buy a piece of property of that size without verifying there's no hazardous waste.
Who owns the liability if there is hazardous waste found, the seller or the buyer?
If we find out before we purchase it, the seller.
Are you gonna do a 21E before the,
Yes.
so that will be done and we'll know about it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name's Minnie Amram over on Kenneth Street. I actually grew up in Lakeville, moved away for a while, and then I'm back. My question is, was myself having 3 children, were the parents maybe question as to what they would want? As a mom of 3 kids, we don't need anything more per se. If I want to go to the park, we go to the schools. If we want to go to the splash pad, we go to Freetown. My kids' friends live in Freetown and Assonet. With a dog park, if I need doggy daycare, it's because I'm at work, so therefore I can't go to the dog park anyway, so I choose to do dog daycare. So that was just my concern, is that we have all these things planning for a park that I know I wouldn't be paying a membership for because I can go get them at other places. And currently my kids are fine with Ted Williams Camp, Betty's Neck. If my son wants to play golf, he has a golf course he can go to. And then my other concern is that we're gonna stress the town even more. We add something to there, and now the police officers have to do extra patrols. Now we've added more issues for the firefighters. Now we've issued more issues for the town residents and the state workers with cleanup and maintenance and everything of that nature. So I was curious, unless I missed it, I know myself, I was not asked in any sort of survey if this was something that I would be interested in for the town.
Thank you. Yes. I'm sorry, did we get your name, please?
Jeff Burney, 135 Main Street. I have some questions regarding the property also. Can the owner landlock the property? Essentially, we are saying there's no access to the property because the right-of-way to the clubhouse in that area is separate. How can you landlock a piece of property? I thought that's technically against federal law to do that.
Well, first of all, it wouldn't be landlocked because there is access on Crooked Lane.
That's a right-of-way. That's not really a road.
Right away
for
to the
public.
golf course, from what we
No,
understand.
they own, the golf course owns that 50-foot wide strip of land.
That's actually part of the golf course?
Yes,
Not the cranberry bog?
that's correct.
Okay. And the other issue I have is, regarding the 61B. If he's taking the property out of 61B, doesn't that have to be rezoned?
No,
It doesn't have to be rezoned.
no.
So, so now we're in kind of a bind with the overlay district zoning, right?
Correct.
Okay. The other thing, having been living in this town for quite a while, I find it disheartening that some of the residents don't listen to our elected officials, who we vote for. The finance committee, who recommended not to buy this property. I cannot believe that we don't trust our elected officials. This is ridiculous. We're gonna pay almost $20 million for something with interest, and it's only worth 2.7. That's, to me, if you went to school and learned what math is, real math, not fuzzy math, real math, you know that this is not a good deal. And I would like to thank the Selectmen, the Select Board, excuse me, for their efforts in this really difficult issue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my name's Gary Simmons. I live at 28 LeBaron Boulevard. Just a couple of things. First to Mark, if Derek landlocks you on that side, the gentleman was just asking, you have that other entrance. Is that going to be able to handle the flow of traffic to get into that place?
Well, that would depend upon what the reuse plan for the property would be. So if it was purely recreational, it would be fine. I mean, 50 feet is wide enough that you can build a proper road on a 50-foot right-of-way. It's not a right-of-way, strip of land. So, so it is possible.
So then now you have to turn parking around that you're going to lose on the other side and put it on this side.
Yes, you'll have to construct a proper roadway, parking areas.
So now we're looking at more
depending
cost.
upon.
And now we're adding
there
more
will
cost
be
to the
added
project,
cost.
which we don't know yet what it's going to be. And the second thing I have to say is as a senior in this town, we've been getting taxed pretty good lately. Now we're going to get hit with this. We're going to get hit with 79 and whatever other taxes come along. I am torn whether I want to vote for this or not, simply because at this point, and the way this government is running this country, I can't afford to. I am getting hammered down every corner with my finances. I think a lot of other seniors are probably in the same situation. And until things improve, I don't know what to say. I mean, I want the project to go through. I know you don't. The only reason I do want it to go through is I don't want another trucking company or anything in here. We've got enough, and they're going to turn the other piece of property into one of those anyways. So we don't need another one. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Rodney Dixon, 39 Baker Lane. You just stole my thunder. We're sitting here in a senior center, and this is these last two speakers were the first ones this evening to speak about our seniors in this town. And I think of my mom. She's 84, and she's on a fixed income. And when we make decisions, all I ask is that we be high information voters. So take everything in its totality, vote appropriately. But remember, when we vote, there are consequences to the vote that may be unintended. So I think of my mom and others like my mom who are on fixed incomes. And if we start adding, like this gentleman had said, we're getting taxed to death. We do this as a community. It may drive my mom out of Lakeville. We're newbies, by the way. We've only been here since 1968, so I apologize for that. But yeah, I know, and my apologies. But I'm a second generation Lakeville. I did grow up here in Lakeville, but I'm second generation. So I ask anybody here and within earshot, please, when you go to the polls and you cast your vote, be high information and think of those those unintended consequences. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Gregory, 8 Bartelli Road. Talbot's warehouse is closing. You
Has anyone from the town reached out to Northbridge partners to see if they'd use and buy the Talbot's facility and not buy the land? Thank you.
You know that answer, John, because you and I talked about it. When Talbot's sent a letter to the town on May 13th, it was from the HR director, and I immediately called the HR director because I was concerned about the 277 people that were going to lose their job. And a lot of those people live here in Lakeville, okay? And they've worked at that facility a long time. That facility has been there 40 years, believe it or not. And so when I reached out to him and I said to him, gee, is there any way we can help you in any way? He said that, no, we got everything lined up. We're giving him good severance pay. You know, we got a number of job fairs, you know, already scheduled and so forth and so on. And so he apologized and he said, you know, we love Lakeville. It's always been very good to us. And he said, you know, we got into financial trouble in 2014. We had to sell the distribution center to somebody to raise cash. We've now been bought by another company that has taken over Talbot's, which was Talbot's was always a very good company, as most of us know. The retail industry is in very, very difficult situation, you know, he said. And they're moving the distributions to Indianapolis because the company that bought them have distribution centers, unused distribution center, and it would cost millions of dollars for them to upgrade the Talbot's distribution center here in Lakeville in order to make it productive, you know, for the company and the employees. So then I said to him, okay, can you give me the name of your real estate attorney? Because I want to call him and find out, you know, what's going on, you know, what you guys are going to do. He immediately did. I called him. I got a call back in a few days. And he basically said that, you know, we really didn't want to do this, but we didn't have much choice because of financial situation. And as I said, the distribution center has been sold to another company, and the other company is responsible for it. But we do have, I forget if he told me, I don't know, a 10 or 20-year lease, and we are responsible to sublease that building. And they're going to be in that building to the end of the year. And then they will decide, you know, what they're going to do. They're starting to put feelers out, but they haven't. So as you requested, John, I asked town planner when he talked to Northbridge, excuse me, wrong company, to let them know that it was available. So we have done that, John. And by the way, the Boston Globe was wrong. Boston Globe said it was $1 million square foot facility. It's not. It's only 575,000, so everybody knows. It's not small, but the company that would take it over, it's a 40-year-old building. All the mechanicals, electricals are completely out of date. They would have to gut that building, and that's what the cost is, you know, to make things, you know, productive, to make their employees, you know, cost effective.
Are you talking about the Talbot's building?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, John? All set? No, that's between Northbridge and Talbot's, you know. I can't get in between any discussion with them at all. Especially when there's Northbridge is coming here making a proposal for a warehouse. That would be a conflict of interest. I can't do that. Yes, Bob?
Bob Marshall, 16 Barstow Street. We've heard Rich's position. I think I understood Leah's, but there's one selectman we haven't heard from. Lorraine, can you tell us what your position is?
Sure. I believe that we did the right thing by allowing the town folks to vote at town meeting, whether or not they wanted to bring this to a ballot. I also support that going to the ballot. If it comes down to the right of first refusal, and it's our decision, and we have to make it on the 29th, I will listen to the voters. And just don't get me, I know the financial implication. I understand this is not the best deal in front of us. You know, I have nights where I don't sleep because I think about this all the time, of what this is going to mean to the town. But we were able to give it to the voters to have their say and get it to the ballot. I will listen to the voters.
Bob?
Yeah, I'd like to say very much like the position we were in 14 years ago with Cisco. Originally, I was, kind of in favor of that then and this now. And the more I talked and listened, and I've spoken to almost a dozen people in town, people who have been for the purchase of the land, many of our elected officials and so forth. And the more I talk to them, the more I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable, not totally, that our town boards have sufficient wherewithal and resources to put conditions and mitigations and so forth that might make it a little more palatable. I do not want a warehouse there at all, but I'm not convinced that if we don't purchase it, that we will have to have that. We've got a very, very short time frame. We have many unknowns, and one thing that hasn't really been mentioned tonight is the judge's decision about the DOD bylaw and whether that will be overturned or not. I think there's another unknown that we don't know. We're between a rock and a hard place. And I don't think there's an easy answer to any of this. But as I said, originally, I was entertaining the thought that it would be a good idea. I think Brenna did a fine job, and all of her people. And by the way, Brenna, you ought to get yourself on a board. Because we need people who are involved and younger people especially. We've got a very short time frame. We've got a lot of unknowns and too many unknowns for me to vote for it. Thank you.
Hi, Christopher Plunker, Baker Lane. So I'd just like to remind the voters tonight, let's look at the numbers. We're proposing to spend $19.3 million for land that's currently assessed at $1.7 million. Not a good fiscal decision, in my opinion. And on top of that, we're looking at an average annual tax increase of $600. Again, that's best case scenario. I've seen the numbers that Ari has put together. I've seen the town budget. Again, best case scenario, not including Old Colony. We all know that that's coming. Doesn't account for rising interest rates. And the fire department building, I'm guessing, is a very conservative number. We have really no idea what that number is going to come in at. That's got to be a best case scenario too. We all know it's going to be higher than that. On top of that, we're looking at average operating expenses of over $500,000. No funding identified for that other than potential donations, grants, memberships, which is all pretty much things you cannot quantify at this stage. And nobody's really talking about the potential loss of our tax revenue from whatever goes in there. I'm not a big supporter of warehouses. But again, we're looking at potentially losing $1 million worth of tax revenue for depending on how that land is developed. So based on that, I have concerns about, the rising tax bills. And don't forget, our tax bills are going up an additional 2.5%, going up an additional 1% due to the CPA. So you add all that on that, and again, to Mr. Dixon's point, Mr. Bernier's point too, are we pricing ourselves out, especially for those residents, first-time homeowners, residents on fixed incomes? I moved here years ago. I looked at the research. The average tax bill for Lakeville, we're about average. I've looked at tax rates for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's one of the reasons why I moved here, in addition to the great schools. As a member of the Finance Committee, my opinion is that this is not a sound fiscal decision, and I do not support it. Thank you.
Hello, Brian Fady, Reservoir Ave. I don't think we talked about traffic and the impacts that these warehouse projects are going to have on our neighborhoods.
That has to be done at the planning board.
I'd like to talk about it right now if I can.
Well, it's not on the agenda. The only thing that's on the agenda here is to decide whether we're going to purchase it or not to talk about.
It's an open meeting, though. I can have my comment.
I understand, but I'm not going to allow you to talk about traffic because this has nothing to do with this public hearing.
It has everything to do with this public hearing. There's a warehouse planned for this area, which is going to exit on Route 18 and go right to old exit 5 on 495. The hospital project, the traffic for that is going to exit onto 105, and it's going to be hitting old exit 4 on 495. There's another warehouse planned in Middleborough across from Abbazzi's Family Restaurant. Where's that traffic going to go? It's going to go to exit 3, 495. Hundreds of tractor trailers on each project. On those 3 projects. How's that going to impact our neighborhoods? How's it going to impact our neighborhoods? It will change our environment permanently.
Okay, thank you.
As I've sit through these meetings the last several months, it's very discouraging that this town overwhelmingly does not want a warehouse on that piece of property. It's a bad situation. The price is not a great price. But it's very discouraging that private citizens are coming up with solutions, and our select board is shooting every solution down. Instead of working with us and giving us creative solutions, like a split tax rate, something of that nature, retirement community with a 9-hole golf course, something of that nature. Work with the community to come up with creative solutions to manage this cost and work together, because we all want our community to stay the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I do think the split tax rate was discussed at least a couple times. And again, having sat on the Board of Assessors for 4 years, the split tax rate is something that the Board of Assessors makes a recommendation to the Select Board every year towards the end of the calendar year before the tax rate is set. In a town like Lakeville right now, it does not make sense to have a split tax rate. That doesn't mean that that won't happen in the future, but right now there is so little of commercial, industrial, everything, that the rate would be so high for those particular businesses, and the residences would see a minuscule amount of savings. And I know everyone says it's okay to tax the businesses and everything, but that also includes your mom and pop shops and your local owners of their plazas, and, you know, the folks that we're always saying we're trying to help, the local folks. So there is, I don't see any, there, once again, from the back of the room, which is inappropriate, but I'll answer anyways. You need to have far more business, and this isn't something that we just decide on. There's standards that the state gives, correct, Sharon? That you have to have X number. A place like Dartmouth has double tax rates. They have an industrial rate, a commercial rate. They have the residential rate. There's far more variety in their tax base than we have. But again, this is something that's discussed every year at a meeting, usually in the month of November at some point, where the assessors do their explanation. And now this is the 4th time that we've talked about it here, so.
Douglas Ferry, 95 Crooked Lane. We abut right there on Crooked Lane to the golf course as it is right now. And I keep seeing a map up there of the property lines, and the property lines are incorrect. Our land, we made a purchase with Gary a while ago, not a purchase, but a transfer, where the right was given to the golf course and our property went down through the tee, down in front, and it butted all the way across that line. And when you say it's 50 feet, that's 50 feet exactly to our line. Which, isn't there a buffer or something that would cause that back entrance to be null and void?
Doug, we happen to look at that, you know, because you swap some property to put your lot in, okay? And when we looked at that, the deeds are certainly not clear, because The 50, who's beside the 50-foot with Lakeville Country Homes, I think? Not beside you, the other. You're talking about the 50-foot right away?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no question that that's not 100% clear either, because it's changed so many hands. Like we said, if we purchase this property, we'd have to do a title search to determine that. And that has to do with easements and so forth, so on. But your property is clearly defined in the assessor's records where you swapped a piece for your house lot.
All right. So does that affect anything at all? Is that?
I don't. I can't answer that question, Doug, without doing a lot more research.
Because the gentleman came and surveyed and so forth, and they weren't really aware of any of that. And
we didn't survey anything. We haven't surveyed anything.
No, but there were people out front of our house with doing surveys, and they said they were for the business or for the golf course. It was for the golf course.
Oh, so they must have surveyed the property before they signed the purchase and sale agreement.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But they were right in front of the house. I know.
I don't know.
All right. The other thing is, I know we bought Ted Williams Camp and so forth, and it's turned out to be a very, very good thing. And I remember leading the volunteer effort to do that. And I kind of think that that's something that we'd be able to do if we kept that property there. And the townspeople came together very well on that, and it's turned into a very nice place. And there's a possibility that we might be able to do that there too.
Okay, Doug. Thank you.
Thanks.
Brandon Donahue, Crooked Lane. I have a question because at the town meeting, the PNS agreement and what we voted on in Article 11, the map is different. The right-of-way on Clear Pond, 44 Clear Pond Ave, is highlighted in green. Everything that was highlighted in red on that map, excluding the 2 parcels and the solar fields, is highlighted in green. So how can it go through 2 legal processes and then change?
It's not gone through 2 legal processes. We're entitled to the 61B property, as Mark had explained.
No, I understand, but that's not what we voted on at Town Hall. I don't understand how that can suddenly change.
That's what we voted on at town meeting, 138 acres.
Right, but it's a different map. We voted on a different map at town meeting that you showed us tonight. Would you like to see? This is highlighted in green on this map that shows the entrance to the property.
Right.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. Based on the information that we had at the time, we were unaware that the assessors had assessed the golf course buildings in 70,000 square feet of land at full value.
Okay.
We knew about the 2 house lots, we knew about the solar field, but the other thing is because we don't have copy of Derek's private sale contract with the development company.
Okay.
So we don't have a definitive answer on the amount of land and the description of the private sale. So that's kind of why there's this little bit of a discrepancy here.
So we wouldn't actually be purchasing 44 Clear Pond Road, we would be purchasing something Crooked Lane. Because if the lane changes, then the address changes, I imagine.
Well, the question becomes, the purchase and sale agreement, it says excluded from the property is the seller interest in all improvements on land, including clubhouse, maintenance buildings, cart pond, paved areas that are not taxed under 61A, and that's what Mark's talking about. So if we buy this property, we don't own any of that. And if we want to own any of that, if we want to own the clubhouse, or we want to own the cart barn, or whatever the other things are, we have to negotiate with Derek to come up with a price to do that, which would be up and above the money that we're buying.
Right.
Okay, so we've asked him twice.
He's not responding.
And we know why he doesn't want to respond. Okay, we know that.
Yes. Okay, second question. Could you reiterate the amount that the average taxpayer would be paying if we purchased this?
$208.
So it would be $208 a year.
That's correct.
Okay. Just want to close this real quick. With the park project, we would be getting profit. There's a lot of people concerned about fixed income and seniors and all of this, and I think they don't realize that we're getting taxed regardless, and these projects are coming in regardless. And unless we purchase this property and turn it into something that actually generates revenue, Nothing is going to help them. Nothing will help them. They have this idea that $208 is going to bankrupt them, but they don't realize that those taxes are going up regardless. This property generating revenue will help them. And that's all I have to say on it.
I guess the only thing I'll say about that, I don't remember the gentleman that said it, that said it'd be mixed use, it could be, senior housing, it could be commercial, it could be whatever. There's so much uncertainty, about that at this point, including your park. So,
Right, but
okay.
it's uncertainty of solutions, it's not uncertainty of profits. Right, it's
Well-
an uncertainty of what would generate the revenue rather than, nothing is going to generate revenue. Something will generate revenue there. And people who are concerned about fixed income should realize these taxes are going up regardless. And if nothing is helping them, then they're out. Because they won't be able to afford what's coming at them without some sort of.
But just to follow up on that, the revenues that are going to be generated, potential revenues that will be generated by this PAC, nowhere near are going to help the taxpayers in Lakeville.
In the long run.
Okay, I'm just saying, it's not going to help the taxpayer in Lakeville.
There's,
Yes, Dick?
there's one other possibility. I'm not supposed
Please
to touch this.
state your address again for the record. We have
Dick
to-
Scott, Rush Pond Road. There's one other possibility, and that's that the DOD is found not to be lawful. And if Northridge doesn't build a warehouse because they can't get the zoning changed at town meeting, they could probably put in a 40B, which would also cause havoc. So as the selectmen make their decision after the vote, if it does say buy it at town meeting, just remember that there is a possibility that nice property could turn out to be a 40B residential. And that's the only thing I want people to realize. It's not just a park, a golf course, a warehouse. There are other possibilities that if Northridge prevails, that they could turn it into. And there are some of those that we would have no say about.
Tim Lark in Crooked Lane. I don't know about everybody here, but $208 a year, that's what, 2 tanks in my truck, right? 2 fill-ups? And it's only gonna go up, which leads me to my other question. If this is gonna be a distribution warehouse, where are they gonna get all the diesel to run those trucks if there's no gas? So I'm leaning more towards a 40B project, like the gentleman before me just said. But aside from all of that, I live week to week, my paycheck week to week. So yeah, I get my nickels from my cans. I pick up the cans from the side of the road. I do everything I can. But what disturbs me the most is where you don't listen to the people. We the people. It's almost like a dictatorship where you're putting the carrot in front. Oh look, you can have this, but no, I can clamp down on that, and that's wrong. Where the majority of the people, whichever way they're going to vote, you should listen to the people. I understand if it's $50,000 or whatever for a fight or whatever, a cruiser or whatever, but when it's going to affect the town on such a large scale, you should be listening to the people. That's all. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, Caroline Darcy, 22 Carriage House Drive.
How you doing?
First of all, I do want to say I do think you have the best interests of the town in mind. I understand this is a very emotional situation, and I can see where people are coming from. I feel like the town's being blackmailed, and if we pay into it, what's that going to stop someone else? However, I do also want to ask, my main question is, if we do not buy it, whoever is looking at buying it, the planning board or the zoning board has to give a special permit, correct?
That's correct.
Is there any say, do we have any say on whether or not they give it? Do they have, if they meet certain requirements, does that mean they automatically get what they want, or
No.
how does that work?
As a matter of fact, you'll have more say in that project, especially if you're in a butter.
Okay.
No, you will. They have to have a public hearing. They have to notify the abutters that this proposal's come forward with us, and you have to go and you express your concerns and so forth and so on. Yes.
Okay.
Whether you necessarily agree with you, I don't know, but
Thank you.
welcome.
Noel River Reservoir Ave, again. The select board knew that the DOD was being challenged. So the question is, why didn't you put a moratorium in then to just put the brakes on all of this madness?
The DOD district has nothing to do with this purchase. They issued a purchase and sale agreement to us. We have 120 days to act on that purchase. Either we purchase it or we don't purchase it. That's it.
Why not put a moratorium in?
We can't. We're not allowed by state law to do that.
I just want to make one comment that
What's your
was.
name, please?
I'm sorry, my name is John Jenkins. I live on Pickens Street in Lakeville.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The comment was made, you know, if this goes through, do we have any influence on it? The planning board was mentioned, you can go there and all that. I just want to bring up my experience with the planning board and asking.
No.
My-
You go to the planning board, John. Go to the planning board. This is not the planning board meeting, okay? You have complaints about the planning board, go to the planning board.
I just wanted to relate my experience to what the town council said when I asked, can we influence the planning board by talking to them?
Well, you're talking to the wrong people.
But
We don't
But
approve
you
the special
told everyone
permit.
in the room, the planning board will listen, and I was told
I
specifically.
did, I said they would listen to your requests. It doesn't necessarily mean they will approve it, John.
I understand we don't
Okay.
always get our way, but the town council told me, unless it's a legal issue, we really aren't gonna look into it. So I'm under the impression that you can go to the planning board and discuss all you want, but
Then replace the planning board.
it's too late.
Replace the planning board. You're not happy with them.
Hi, Chris Sargo, Baker Lane. I was just wondering,
I'm sorry.
on
What was your address, please?
Baker Lane,
Thank you.
on the map, Chris Sargo, on the map, there's that red part that we cannot purchase.
That's a private sale, yes.
Okay, if the warehouse purchases
Yeah.
it, do they purchase that area also? Can they?
They do. They have a purchase and sale agreement to purchase that.
So they can have access to Clear Pond Road,
Yes.
but we cannot.
We're not
And we
sh-
cannot use make that golf course a golf course for a year because we don't have access to the clubhouse. We don't have access to hole 18. I'm not a golfer.
Yes,
But the warehouse can.
that's correct.
And so would they,
Because they're buying everything.
so why couldn't we buy everything?
It hasn't been offered to us. It wasn't under 61B. It wasn't protected in the recreational land.
So the owner has given them an option to buy the whole
So-
thing, but not us.
And put-
Is that right?
You can put two and two together,
Oh, I know.
okay? So what he's saying is he's doing everything he can.
To make us not buy it.
Make us not buy it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, so we are only, the right of first refusal is only for the chapter land. That's it for us. Anyone else can buy anything they want, but our right of first refusal is only for the land that was in chapter land. So.
Okay. And if I can, Mr. Chair, we did not support moving to the ballot, the 61A property. So we have the right of first refusal on that piece as well. So there'll be two votes, I believe, on the 29th, correct?
That's correct.
Right.
Yep.
Jeff Burney, 135 Main Street. Again, I want to get some clarification from town planner,
Yes, town planner.
on the access. That access off of Stetson Street, you said, correct?
It's
Crooked
Crooked Lane.
oh, Crooked Lane.
Lane, not Stetson. The access off of Stetson is for the bog property, and we are not considering.
So an entrance for a course would be where the bogs are, that's Crooked Lane, correct?
No, it's the second, after the second parcel, going down Crooked Lane from Bedford Street. There is a 50-foot strip of land that's part of the golf course land.
And that would, okay, would that be able to be a town road, access?
Yeah, it could, the town could develop that as access into the property. That's correct.
Okay.
I mean,
It's 50 foot wide, Tim.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
That's it?
May I, Mr.
Nope.
Chair?
Sure.
So Leah Fabian, I just got reelected this year, so I'm around for 3 years. It's my second term. I don't know if folks remember, maybe you do, maybe you don't. When I first came in, I was at odds with my board members over what the pressing issue was back in the day. But let me tell you, like Lorraine mentioned before, I've never lost sleep over anything until this country club project. The 3 people at this board right now have the least, if not no, personal gain whatsoever. There's been folks that have sat on board positions that were contractors in town or, had their own personal reasons for what they wanted to do. The 3 of us have no personal gain out of this whatsoever. Now, you can like us, you can hate us, that's your choice. We don't have a recall in Lakeville, that's your choice. If you want to put a recall in place to oust us, that's fine. But it's not always easy sitting here. And as much as it's difficult to be here tonight, it really is nice to see people in the room, because some years at the annual town meeting, when we're trying to pass a budget, we're calling friends to try to get people in the room to vote on, to get a quorum to have town meeting. So I did see a few things on Facebook that, for better or worse, I'm going to say something about it. Someone said we need to hold people accountable for, letting this DOD district happen. Well, you know what? No, if no one showed up to vote it down, hold yourselves accountable. I mean, that sounds really brutal, but you have so much control over the way your town is run by showing up at town meeting. Town meeting happens 2 times a year usually, sometimes more. Very, very rarely is it only once a year. You have so much control over how your town is run. And show up. I mean, you might actually like being part of the process. I do this right now because I have a spinal injury. I can't really work a real job, but there's nothing wrong with my brain. So, I'm the swing vote right now. I didn't say I wasn't going to vote with the people. Sue Spieler speaking for me, and I don't really appreciate that. I've also been called a bully because I was pressing Lorraine on how she would change the budget to pay for this whole thing. I've known Lorraine for almost 30 years. She can hold her own. I'm not a bully to Lorraine, and I'm not a bully to anybody. So I'll also tell folks that there's more transparency in the Selectmen's office with this Board of Selectmen and Ari Sky than there was for a really long time. So I don't know why everyone is hating on us, because this is like the worst situation that we've been given. So you want to hate, go ahead and hate, but you want to think that you know how I'm going to vote, go right ahead, but whatever.
Go ahead.
I think it was March or was it April, the original country club meeting? Was it March or April? I think it was the 20th.
The informational meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
that one.
I think it was April 20th, I think, if I remember correctly.
Okay. I'd like to speak to what Chair Member Fabian just said, was at that meeting, I believe I recall you saying that you would go with the town vote.
Right.
So if the town votes yes, are you voting yes?
I can't say that at this point.
That's entirely fair because new information could come to
Right,
light.
because there's not just new information.
Yes.
So much really challenging new information. It's not just a little thing like, it may be more or less 7 acres or 6 acres. I could live with more or less, if it's 6 acres. $1 million the town would have to pay, more negotiating on everything else. These are things I have to consider.
I completely understand that. My issue comes with, you said that none of you have anything to gain. If none of you have anything to gain, then your position starting should be neutral. Our lives will be fundamentally altered in this town if a warehouse goes into this
I said we don't
location.
have anything personal to gain by
Correct.
being on this board, not on this particular
Okay,
project.
Let's move on here. Bob, next question. Do you have another question?
Sorry, just give me 1 second. That ruined me. No,
And
I think we're good.
I'm not a contractor. I'm not a real estate
fair.
agent. I'm not any of these things. Sitting on this board gives me something to do because I have a god-awful spinal injury, okay?
I understand. We've talked about that.
Right. So, I'm not, we have in every town, everywhere, there's people that sit on boards that have more of a personal gain because something's relevant to, whatever. We all do ethics stuff. I mean, it's,
I appreciate that you haven't made your mind up already. I just wanted to bring up that informational meeting.
Bob?
Yeah, Bob Marshall, Barstow Street. Leah, I'm glad you brought up the issue about people not coming to meetings and so forth. I plead guilty. When I come to town meeting and there's a zoning issue up, my eyes glaze over. They really do. I confess I don't understand them 99% of the time. I depend on the planning board, the FinCom, and the select board to guide my vote. And that's why I've asked for everybody's permission. But I am as guilty as anybody for not paying close enough attention back in 2012 when DOD was passed. I didn't understand it then. I'm beginning to understand it now. I'm 10 years late to the party. And for that, I'm sorry. No, that's it. Thank you.
Tony?
Tony QP, Vaughn Street, Lakeville. So can you guys explain, does the Board of Selectmen have the power to repeal the DOD by putting it on a new agenda and then bringing it to town vote?
Do we?
Yes.
We certainly can ask the planning board to do something, yes.
Okay, and how come that has not happened yet?
Well, I haven't brought this up at all about the DOD district. But back in 2021, there was a petition. There was a petition that was put together by Susan Spieler and 20 other people that presented on February 26, 2021. And it said to repeal the DOD district, okay? As a member of the Board of Selectmen, it was happening, I think only you and I were there at the time, if I remember correctly, that we immediately forwarded this to the planning board because we had to put it on town meeting. And it was put on the annual town meeting last year on May 8th, okay? The planning board had a hearing on April 29th of 2021, okay? And there was a number of comments that were made by the planning board that they didn't want to make the changes, right now. They wanted to look at the bylaw and see what changes we could do and so forth and so on. And actually, John Jenkins is quoted in here a number of times about that. And basically, the planning board voted not to recommend it at town meeting. 5-0, okay? Susan Spieler gets up at town meeting, who put the petition in, and she tables the motion. She tabled it, which meant that it couldn't be brought up at that town meeting, even though people wanted to talk about it. And what was agreed to in the minutes, if you get a chance, look at the minutes of April 29, planning board meetings of April 29, 2021. It was agreed by the group that they would get back together relook at the zoning for the DOD district, come back to the fall town meeting last year and change it and modify it, and it was never done. So Tony, there's the answer. They didn't do anything about it. And we wouldn't be here tonight throwing stones at each other because that project could not have gone forward if they did that at town meeting and the planning board recommended to do it. So you can ask Susan Spieler if you want. That's correct. That is a correct statement. It's here in the minutes, and you can read all the minutes. Any other question, Tony?
No,
Thank you.
Rich, you're leaving out a part that, yeah, you are. The reason that was tabled was because we were told by the town moderator and legal, our legal, that if we put that on the floor, then you could change the DOD at town meeting, which would have allowed the Lakeville Hospital to then fall underneath that zoning just by adding it to the map. So there was a strategic reason. I can't tell you why there was no meeting after that. And I think it's because there was litigation immediately thereafter. So don't lay it on LORG, don't lay it on Susan Spieler. There's more to the story about what happened or what can happen at town meeting. And we've had 2 years to plan contingencies for what might happen at the country club. We've known that it might come out of 61A and B for over 2 years, okay? Two of the groups that I've not heard from are Master Plan Committee and Open Space Committee, because I've heard what the planning group, I've heard what the board, I've heard the finances, but we have 2 ongoing committees. Economic development would come into play, but they haven't really been fully staffed. So I won't look for guidance there. But just like Bob Marshall, I look to our committees to do the hard lifting, to do the pros and con arguments. But this DOD, right from the beginning, is a mistake for the town.
Okay, Dick, I have a question for you, Dick. Okay? The question is, you and John Jenkins said things ought to go to town meeting, to have town meeting people discuss it, and town people to review it, and have the opportunity to change it. People at town meeting were denied that right to do that. And this was a petition. This was not presented by the planning board. This was a petition by people that wanted it to be on town meeting, that wanted to discuss that, and we put it on town meeting. We had a public hearing, planning board had a public hearing to do that. So
the planning board took the action of no recommendation, which essentially allowed us not to be able to move forward without the risk of it being modified at town meeting so that it would make it legal.
they could be modified at town meeting, Dick. But the question is, okay, Susan Spiel is standing right there. She tabled it. What happened between May 8th of last year and up to this point? Why didn't the planning board and the petitioners do something about it?
The answer is simple: litigation.
No, that's not true.
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with that whatsoever. That is
Okay, all right,
not
but
true.
May I, Mr. Chair, litigation, is that our fault? Is that the select board's fault? So I really wish people wouldn't be mad at us.
Susan?
Susan Spieler, 10 Valley Road. So the reason why it was tabled is because the planning board did not make a recommendation at their public hearing, so it was considered out of order, and we could not vote on it, no matter how it was written. That's why it was tabled. So don't throw me under the bus for not, for tabling this. We had no choice. We were told by
so
town council.
What happened after May 8th between then and
Asked the
next-
planning board that. They
Oh,
never
oh,
approached
okay.
us.
But it was your petition.
I understand that,
Okay.
but planning board said they wanted to meet with us, and they never approached
Okay,
any of us
so
about that.
the so Tony's question, the DO district could have been eliminated at the fall town meeting, correct?
At the fall
correct?
town meeting?
Last fall,
That was spring.
last fall.
Last fall, no, because the planning board never
No, we're
approached
talking about
us.
the annual town meeting was the one that didn't make the recommendation, Susan, right?
April or May is
Yeah.
when we had to table it.
And we had a special town meeting in the fall.
Right, but the
Okay.
planning board never worked with us, so
Okay,
we
so-
could not bring it back in the fall. And
But it could
we
have been.
can't do it for another 2 years because it was a citizen's petition. So
No,
it's up to the.
that's not true.
Oh, yes, it is, because that's what we were told, that we could
I don't
not
know
bring
who
a
told you that,
citizen's
but you can
petition.
bring- The planning board can bring back any article.
The planning board can, but the citizen's petition, they could not do another citizen's petition in the fall to have that removed. This was all up to the planning board to work with us, or
So
whoever
nothing
wanted to.
happened.
And nothing happened,
Okay, I
no.
just want to make sure that I point, because
Right,
none
and
of us-
nothing happened.
none of us would be here tonight if the planning board and the group got together and did something at the fall town meeting, right? Is that correct?
I would say that's correct.
Okay, thank
But
you.
nothing happened.
Okay, I just want the facts straight, so. And here we are, everybody's beating us up, because things should have been done that didn't get done.
No, but I believe it's also because of the litigation at the
That's
hospital.
not
Is that
true at
why
all.
they were not interested in working with us?
I just said they could have had the opportunity.
They
to
could
fix
have,
it,
and they
you
didn't.
Okay, thank you.
That's
Bob?
It's interesting that Bob Marshall, Barstow Street. Interesting that this comes up because when I started about 3 weeks worth of research, one of the people I spoke to originally was our moderator. And I said, how did all this happen? And one of the things she said to me was that she advised Susan that she had a number of options. And one of them was to request that it be directed, the whole DOD issue, be directed back to either some specific committee or the planning board. And she said that she was quite surprised when it was moved to be tabled.
I agree.
And she
Right there
told-
in the minutes.
I understand, but you mean for the town meeting?
No, for the
Oh,
planning board
oh,
meeting.
no, no, I
Recommendation of the
understand
town
that.
moderator.
But to the point that's being discussed here, our moderator told me that she advised Susan that the better choice would have been to request that it be directed to a particular committee, and the planning board could be one of those committees, to be able to be brought back. And she was surprised that it was tabled at that point. So I was going to start off my conversations earlier by saying, there's lots of blame to go around, if that's the word we want to use. I don't. I think there's a lot of great people serving on our boards, including members of the planning board. I don't know why they did or didn't do what they did or didn't do, but we are left with this mess. And we can point and blame all we want, but we as a town have got to figure this out between now and June 28th. Thank you.
Tony?
Tony Cupey, Vaughn Street. So we are in this conundrum now. And, I directly asked you, why couldn't the Board of Selectmen do that? It's moved back over to, the planning board had the power to, they chose to do nothing. And the blowback, though, unfortunately, is on all of the townspeople. And it continues to be. We have people spending their own money to bring lawsuits and against Rhino Capital. And I know you're saying, that's a whole different thing. That's why these things are so intertwined. And it's really essential that people understand the intertwinedness of the Lakeville Hospital and the Lakeville Country Club, because that common thread is the DOD. Okay? And for everybody out there, what the Board of Selectmen is saying now too is if you have 25 acres sitting next to you, an industrial warehouse can come down your street too.
Not the Board of Selectmen, the planning board, just so you know.
So that's a really important point. I hope the planning board is watching this and has heard the outcry from the townspeople Because if they have the power to repeal this thing on their next meeting, then I would hope that that's done.
Good evening, Larry Costan, 45 Freetown Street. First, I want to thank all the board members. I know this is a tough position for all of you. You've shown you care about it in some ways, and others don't like it. I understand everybody here has passion for this. The Board of Selectmen, Select Board, understands that. I know they do, because we see their passion in this. But the people that have a vested interest in this property live around there. But there's also other citizens in the town that may not be for this. I live on Freetown Street. The golf course, I didn't even know what the golf course was until recently. Okay? So the select board has to consider all of the citizens, not just the few citizens. So to blame them for their positions or say that they don't care is just wrong. And the simple fact is that I've looked at the election turnouts over the past couple of elections here, and this town needs to be ashamed of itself. The amount of people that come out to vote is a disgrace. So if you're not happy with the government you have, or you're not happy the way this goes, fix it. Get out and vote. But don't come up and yell at them when they were duly elected because most of you were too lazy to go out and vote. The only time we see people come out is when it's for an initiative. So don't blame them for it. Get out and vote. And if you're not happy with the government the way it is, change it. But don't blame them for doing their jobs. Thank you again for your time and patience. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Tony, do you have anything new?
Yes. To be fair, we were just about an hour ago in this meeting. They said we are voting on, what, June 28th? The town is? And the Board of Selectmen said, you know, no matter how you vote, we've already made up our mind. So to your point...
That's not true.
Rich LaCAM said he had made up his mind on this issue.
I made up...
No matter what we vote on that.
I made up my mind months ago.
One person of three. That's 33% of the board, guys.
Well,
The point is that if we vote a majority, they're not going to follow that.
Lorraine also stated that she would vote with the people, so looks like I'm gonna need the one that has the security escort home. If,
Okay.
Thanks. Mr. Chair, I'd just like to add a couple of things, okay? Larry, I know where you live. There's chapter land behind your house, too. So, you know, we could be going through this if and when that chapter land comes up. I mean, there was a South Coast Rail informational meeting last Thursday night that I was listening to as I was driving down to Plymouth County. Those folks are unhappy because they've lived where they've lived and they have their acres and acres of land, and now they're going to have 3 commuter rail trains going by in the morning and 3 commuter... Well, we were fighting that 6 years ago. You know, I mean, we were, you know... Some people call it progress, but in our town where we want to keep things quiet, it's not progress. For the record, I was the one in January of 2021 that suggested the CPA try to get passed again. So for all those folks who say I'm anti-open space, I beg to differ.
Lorraine?
Okay, getting back to why we're here tonight, Lakeville Country Club. We as a board have done our job to try to provide the information to you so you can make an educated decision. Some of you have reached out to us individually to ask questions, and we all appreciate that because we will answer, you know, the best way that we can, and if we don't have the answers, we will seek them out. But I feel that we've done what we can by having our meetings together, the open meetings, inviting you here, having this public hearing so that you could hear the impact of your decision from our side where we have to kind of manage the money. But we've also allowed the residents to come forward and kind of give their side of suggestions. So right now, I think we've done what we could do, and now it's up to you to continue to do your research and vote on the 28th. So, yeah, we might not always agree, but I respect the process, and I respect the fact that I have board members that I will listen to and keep an open mind, but I still will do what I have to do that's right for the people.
Just a couple of things before we leave. Some of the questions that, we have had is that putting signs up about the ballot question on town property. We're not allowed to do that to influence the voter, whether they want for it or against it. So please keep that in mind if you put signs up, they have to be on personal properties. That's just the way Proposition 2.5 is. You can't do that. As Lorraine just said, it's June 28th from 12 to 8 p.m. Absentee ballots are available in the town clerk's office. You can call the town clerk's office, or you can go to the town clerk's office. The absentee ballots are now available if that's what you want. As far as contacting anybody, as far as contacting me, you already know where Ari is at 508-946-8803. You can call the town hall, and he's getting calls, and he's doing his best to answer any questions that he can. And anybody can call me. I have the same landline number for 48 years, so anybody knows. And it's listed. And my number is 508-947-1782, and you're welcome to call me, and I will answer any questions that you have. It may take some time to get back to you, but I will. And my email address is LaCAMera, LACAMERA, @lakevillema.org. And I will do everything I can to answer your questions as much as possible. And I'm sure the other board members will do the same. So we appreciate you coming this evening, and I know that we certainly had some major disagreements here, but that's part of the way government works. So thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
So, second.
Want to take a vote?
Aye, all those in favor.
Aye.
Aye.